All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
Good morning. Welcome to the All Sports, All Plays College Breakdown Show. I am Ray Cruz. I am here every Saturday from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. We're winding down the college football season here. We're down into one game left of the regular season, which is the Army versus Navy game, which is a very sentimental game to me. I'm a Navy veteran. This is the game. This game is so pageantry, so camaraderie. For the people in active duty, all the way down to the midshipmen at the University of Navy and the Army cadets. And I mean, it's very big out in the fleet area and the active duty between both servers. You'll see that as we come on in later on in the game, and during the game, you'll see all the pageantry, all the stuff they do on the active duty Navy ships and all the Army bases. They all get involved. So I mean, it's a very big game for the academies here, especially for Army and Navy. So I mean, we're gonna get it later on. We're gonna break that down. Let's talk about a little bit of some news that was breaking here. Let's give a moment of silence to the people in Kentucky for the hurricane the tornado that went through the state last night. We have one of our colleagues here, Landon. I talked to him earlier. He's okay. He's on vacation in Tennessee with his family, but he was very concerned about his girlfriend. They finally got in contact with his girlfriend's grandmother. She's doing okay, but he still hasn't heard from any of his other friends in Kentucky. So let's take a moment of silence here and remember the people up in Kentucky for the tornado that came through last night. Amen. So let's get down to business here. We had some good we had some coaching developments come up through some of the night. We have Oklahoma hire Brent Biddle, the defense coordinator out of Clemson. He did coach at Oklahoma as a linebackers coach, certain defensive coaches. So I mean, that's some good barometer there. He has some history there. He's back at OU as a head coach now. This is tendered. Will start next year. Bob Stoops will be coaching Oklahoma during the bowl game that's coming up for Oklahoma. We're also going to be talking about. Let's talk about Florida. We got Billy Napier. Once my colleagues get in here, we'll be talking about that. We're going to break down. Have a Florida Gator fan. He should be joining us here. He's our co-host. Dre Montez, he should be coming in here shortly. We'll be talking about Bill Napier with him and his thoughts as a Florida fan, how he thinks his recruiting is going to be and stuff. We're going to go down some of the recruiting rankings as the show progresses on. Virginia Tech got Brent Pryor from the defensive coordinator from Penn State. Billy Napier comes over from Louisiana over to Florida. Louisiana picked up Mike Desmaria. He's the offensive coordinator there for Louisiana. They moved him up into the head coaching. New Mexico State got Jerry Kill. His history with Minnesota. Troy got John Summerall. Louisiana Tech picked up Sonny Cumbie. Texas Christian University's offensive coordinator, I think, and under Gary Patterson. Sonny Dice goes to he goes from SMU to let's see what I can find him on the list here. He's somewhere around here. He went to TCU, so He just went across the state from SMU to TCU, from Southern Methodist University to Texas Christian University. So he just went across, and Ray Lashley, he takes over at SMU. We talked about Brent Biddle was taking over from Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma Temple. Ron Carey is out, but they have not named a head coach yet. Duke picked up Mike Elko. Elko. He's from Texas Tech, Texas A&M. He was the defense coordinator. He was also a defense coordinator at Wake Forest, so he has a stint in the ACC. So they went from Dave Cutcliffe, the offensive mind, to a defensive mind head coach, and Mike Elko at Duke University. Fresno State picked up Jeff Tadford. Notre Dame picked up Marcus Freeman, I think he was the defense coordinator at Notre Dame at the time. So they picked him up as a head coach. And promoted him up. Colorado State got Jay Norvell. So he's at Colorado State. Virginia picked up Tony Illett, the defense coordinator for Clemson. So not the defense coordinator, offensive coordinator. He's somewhere either offensive coordinator or I think he's the offensive coordinator. So Clemson got hit hard in the coaching size to head coach. Devo Sweeney's got to go out and get a new defensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator. Also, Clemson also has to go get a new AD. We know the AD athletic director has moved on from Clemson to University of Miami. That's where Oregon's head coach, Mario Cristobal, went to Miami. We're going to talk about that. We're going to break that down, how Miami's really spun Manny Diaz. We knew Manny Diaz was going to be out sooner or later at Miami. But the way they did it, it was just terrible. I mean, he was in limbo because they had to hire an athletic director. It's just his thing is just, I think Miami really, did him wrong, really, not letting him go, get him fired. If they're going to fire him, they should have gone in and fired him at the end of the regular season, not to keep him in limbo. They went down until they see if they got Mario Cristobal. They fired him. They fired Manny Diaz on the 5th of December and hired Mario Cristobal right after that. So they made sure they got a head coach in place before they fired him. But he kept him wrong. I mean, he could have gone out and got another job or something and just kept him in limbo. And I think that's just wrong. I think they did him wrong on that. If you see the colors under my name, Ray Cruz and stuff, that's the Navy color. I'm representing Navy, so I made the show colors into Navy, the Navy gold. So I mean, if you look at the the situations here, Ed Ogeron at LSU, Chip Kelly came from Notre Dame. We know what happened. Chip Kelly showed up at a basketball game in the arena, and he started talking his Southern accent. We know he ain't from nowhere from the South. He's from Massachusetts. Has a fake, Southern accent, Southern drawl when he went to LSU and started talking. There. So I mean, if you look at the situations here, in this thing here, I'm sharing this podcast, this thing out with some of the fans here in different rooms so they can pop in. And if you got some questions you want to go and bring in, if you're a military veteran or something, you can leave some comments in there. We'll bring it up on the show. Still waiting some my colleagues to come in. So be here for a little while by myself. So I'm used to it. I mean, I can get the show going, get it pumped up, get it really good because I know a lot of what we're talking about here. What's the next job for Gary Patterson? I mean, I thought he would end up being a candidate for like Virginia Tech. He could end up being a defense coordinator somewhere too. We don't know what his status is. We don't know if he wants to come back into coaching or if he's looking at another program, another stepping stone where he can get into. I mean, this could be different situations for different people. What's next for Justin Fuente? Is he going to get in somewhere in coaching, or is he going to be back down into the coordinator realm of coaching? Dan Mullen, what's his status? What's Dan Mullen's going to do? I mean, he's a good offensive mind. He could be a good offensive coordinator somewhere. What do we see? Where do we see Dan Mullen's at? Will he take a year off and then come back into coaching? Some coaches like to take a year off and be perspective and get some perspective outside. Go and be like a broadcaster like Matt Brown did and get some more perspective on the other side, and then come back in and could have helped him in coaching. So we don't know what the Dale Mullins stands. Lincoln Riley, we know he's at USC. We know Brent Venables is coming to Oklahoma. So I think Brent Venables is going to be a great head coach. I think he can recruit. I think he can manage the team. I think it's his time to step up. What's next? What's next for Temple? Ron Carey's out. We don't know. Temple is without a coach right now, without a head coach. So we don't know exactly what Temple is going. I mean, their season's over because they didn't have a great season. That's why they fired him, and they're not going to a bowl game. So I mean, what's next for Temple? Who did it go after? Um, Oregon's still without a head coach. There are some rumors coming around now for Oregon's head coaching job. What can we see there at Oregon? What's next for Oregon? Is Chip Kelly coming back there? I mean, there's been reports that Chip Kelly's coming back. That they got in contact with him. We don't know if he's going to accept the job or if he's going to say, hey, UCLA. There is some hint by the defensive coordinator at Georgia, Dan Lindley. Some sites are predicting him that he's a front runner for the Oregon job. That'd be a good hire for him. Go from being a defense coordinator, being a head coach. I mean, look at Georgia's defense. Georgia's defense has done pretty good this year, except for that last game against against Alabama in the SEC championship game, but they're in the college playoffs. I mean, that could be a great hire for Oregon too. So, I mean, that's going to be a situation that we're going to be talking about, in the next couple of days or something. If Oregon get a head coach in there, I mean, the recruiting cycles are coming around, so they got to get somebody in there to try to save some of these recruits that are probably going. Some of them probably end up decommitting from Oregon. So we got to see what the situation of that is. Let's see here. Let's go. Let's talk about Manny Diaz here for a second. The way they finished the season, they did it. They turned the season around a little bit with Van Dyke coming in at quarterback. It started right after after they lost to Carolina. They turned it around to be North Carolina State right after that, and they did some good performance to beat Pitt. And so, I mean, they did have some good wins and under Manny Diaz this year. Was it enough to save his job? I don't think so. I think they spun him though. I think they kept him in limbo. We knew the fire was coming, but they keep him in limbo to try to get Mario Cristobal from Oregon in their back pocket, and then they picked the AD out of Clemson up there. So I mean, I understand they were in turmoil trying to get the AD and trying to get all this stuff situated, but they could have go ahead and say, hey, we're not going to retain you, we're going to let you go. So he can go out and try to find another job or something, put him on name out on the blown, but he put him in limbo. I mean, Manny Diaz, I mean, he could resurface up in Temple. I mean, he could be a good head coach at a smaller school. So, I mean, gives a little bit of, a break there. Temple don't have a head coaching job. I'll come after Manny Diaz, try to get a head coaching job up in a smaller school. I mean, didn't think he was ready for his first head coaching job at a big school. I think he should have gone to the little school Ram at first and then make the stepping stone. Most coaches make that stepping stone to go to a smaller school, get it, and then that's a stepping stone for them to get to a big school. So, I think the Miami job was a little bit over his head. I mean, what do we see here? I mean, let me hear some of your comments about this. Did Miami really spun Manny Diaz, even though we know he was going to get fired at some point? We know that he didn't have a good enough season and a good enough career in Miami to hold his job. Even though he beat NC State, even though he beat Pitt, even though he had some key victories, down the stretch. But, they should have gone on and fired him at the end of the season or, not keeping him in limbo. So I don't, I want to hear some of the Miami fans if you're here in this thing and see what kind of see if you really believe in that they really kept Manny Diaz in that limbo. Um, all the coaching changes, and jobs are not safe out here. Jobs are really not safe. I mean, what kind of safety net does coaches have now? They really don't have a safety net because coaching in college football, coaching anywhere, if you don't win, you're not going to stay around that long. I mean, they give you 1 or 2, maybe 3 years at the most, to try to turn a program around. That gives you enough ample time to get in there and get your recruits and stuff. I mean, the first year should be like a little buy for it because you got get your first, taste of the school. You got to get into coaching, but then you follow up the next 2 or 3 years, 2 or 3. I think 4 years is really capable enough time to get the program turned around. If you can see it that way, if we tell about a head coaching, if they're going to turn that program around. So I mean, that's another option there. But you keep Manny Diaz in turmoil between the AD trying to find a new AD, and then you went out and behind his back and got Mario Cristobal signed before you fired him. So I mean, the Hurricanes did go 7-5 in his third season. I mean, you gave him the free year, and then you gave him 2 years after to do it. He really didn't turn the program around. I mean, he had a winning record of 7-5 this year, got him to a bowl game, but it's not up to Miami standards because Miami standards are higher back in the '80s. And with Jimmy Johnson there with a championship caliber team, and then they started hitting the wall a little bit after that. And started going down a little bit more when Coker left. After he at the national championship, he was the last coach to win a national championship at Miami. And then the program went downhill a little bit. They got rid of him, and then it still has not come back up to the standards of the U. Back in the '80s when they were up there winning national championships, I mean, they fell off like Nebraska's fell off a little bit here too. I mean, they used to be Nebraska used to be up in the powerhouses, playing for college national championship. I mean, I know Tom Osborne, and then you got Oklahoma with Barry Switzer was there. That was the ramification, and then you had Alabama, and then they fell off a few years until they got Nick Saban back, and then they got them back until a Paralysis. I mean, so you got to understand, college football is not really there. You got to be there. You got to be turning the program around. You got to be getting these wins and stuff like that. So you got to get these recruits in. You got to be a recruiter. You got to know how to sell the school, and plus be the coach, and plus be the management of everything off the field. Make sure no off the field issues are coming up. Keeping the program, safe. So there's a lot of responsibility for NCAA head football coach. I mean, it's a lot of Rams, a lot of things you got to take care of. Are you ready to be in that top tier coaching? I mean, to me, I think a coach needs to step into a smaller program where there's not too much expectations for you to let you learn the ram and get your coaching vicinity down and learn how to run a program. I mean, you go to Miami and you don't really know how to run a recruiting program from a head coaching standpoint, then you're going to be over your head. And I think that's what happened to Manny Diaz. I think he got over his head too early, too quick. He did not go to a stepping stone of a school just to be up there to be, and then just came out of being an underachiever at a major school who has who will be pressure on you to figure out how to get the Miami University back into that winning pedigree. And I think it's just over. Now, if Mario Cristobal comes in there, he has success at Oregon, but watch what Oregon has done the last 2 games against Utah. That tells me if he brings that same offense into Miami, teams that are physical can dominate Mario Cristobal's offense if he brings that same offense he had at Oregon. And that showed you 2 times in a row that Utah really destroyed him because he played more physical football. So what kind of offense will Mario Cristobal bring into the ACC? I mean, you got physical teams here. You got, Clemson could be a physical team. North Carolina State could be a physical team. North Carolina's got the running of type attack that could be a physical team in a long run. But, I mean, you have Virginia, who is a physical running team. You have Georgia Tech, who's a physical running team. You have Florida State, who could be a physical running team. You got Clemson, who could be both an air attack or a physical running game plan. Depends on what kind of offense they come in. Next year, who's going to be the offensive coordinator at Clemson? That's going to be a lot of issues at Clemson too. I mean, you got to get a new AD, you got to get a new defensive coordinator, you got to get a new offensive coordinator. You got to make sure that your line coach and your linebackers schemes up with your offensive coordinators and your defensive coordinator, your offense. So, what does Dan Bill Sweeney does at Clemson? He's got to bring in some good recruiters too. On top of that offensive side, to keep these recruits coming in. So that was the next step for Devil Sweeney and Clemson. I mean, they really cherry picked Clemson out. I mean, they got rid of cherry pick. Miami came in and got the athletic director. Virginia took over the offensive guy. Um, you had the defensive coordinator's gone. He's at Oklahoma now, head coach. They really went in there and picked away Devil Sweeney's thing. I like to hear some of the fans' thoughts from Clemson. About the AD leaving, going to Miami. Um, Elliott going over to Virginia, be the Virginia head coach. But Brent Venables, defensive coordinator, going to be Oklahoma head coaching job. What's next for Clemson? That's going to be a good question. What's next for who they going to go out and hire as the defense coordinator? Who's going to hire out the offensive coordinator? I mean, you got to bring somebody in who's going to be powered, going to be name driven, because Clemson's got that expectation now because they had Trevor Lawrence and all them, and they were down this year, so they got to get the program back up. What does Dabo Sweeney do at Clemson? How does he swing that momentum back around and get your offensive coordinator and your defensive coordinator? How's that going to? Is he going to hire somebody off his staff to evaluate them and then go out and get some line coaches? Different element of the coaches. I mean, does Dabo Sweeney have enough pedigree in there that they can elevate the next person up, next man up per se? You got the next player up, you got to get the next coach up. Because if you have so much success, they're going to start cherry picking your staff. Look at what happened in Alabama. Smart out Georgia, and I mean, he picked them right off of Alabama staff. Let's see who. I mean, so you have good success at certain programs, they're going to start coming in there and going to start picking your staff away, and then you got to return back with a new staff, and hopefully you could do. Look, Alabama has been successful with that. I mean, Lane Kiffin went to Ole Miss, and they replaced him with O'Brien. When Lane Kiffin went to Florida, Florida Atlantic, they had to replace his thing when they replaced him with Steve Sarkisian. Steve Sarkisian gets picked up at Texas. Now O'Brien from the Texan NFL team, now he's the offensive coordinator at Alabama. So I mean, they really went in there and got that really picked apart, and then he's really came in to over adapt. That's what great coaches do. Is Dabo Sweeney that next level coach where he can go out and get somebody to replace these guys and still not lose ability of Clemson being up in the top 10, top 15, top 25. I mean, he had a down year this year, but can he replace these players and elevate his program back up to where they're winning the national championship again? That's going to be the next thing for Dabo Sweeney. This is really a tough situation. We see how tough situation was when Trevor Lawrence left. Has had a hard time replacing the quarterback and all the pieces that he lost last year for this year's team. What do we see? How do we see this turning for Clemson? I mean, I like to hear some of the Clemson fans if they're out there and stuff. So that's going to be a situation that we want to talk about too. I mean, how do we see Clemson coming up in this thing? How would you see North Carolina bounce back? I mean, Carolina started out ranked number 10. They got busted all the way down out of the rankings. And I mean, they finished the season 6-6 at 500. And, that to me is a little bit of a down year, but I mean, they still finished 500. If they win this bowl game, they could finish one game over 500 at 7-6. Or if they lose, they finish one game under 500. So what kind of success that? I mean, you go have top 10, but you got to understand they had a lot of pieces they had to pick up. They had 4,000 some yards, running backs they had to replace, and they had their receivers they had to replace. I mean, Josh Downs did pretty good in North Carolina this year. Sam Howell did pretty good. When you got look at North Carolina, they're going to have to replace Sam Howell if he decides to pull chalks after the bowl game to go into the NFL. I mean, his grades in the first round. Some people got him high as first in the late first round, beginning the second round, all the way down to the third round. Does he really want to pull his chalk and hopefully he gets picked in the first round, or does he go and pull his chalk and hopefully he gets picked up at a rate in the second round and stuff like that? But when you get that third, fourth, fifth round in the NFL, I mean, you got to really make the team to get that paycheck. So that's something Sam Howell's gonna have to consider. Does he jeopardize and hope he gets picked in that first and second round, or does he come back to North Carolina for that last year and try to improve his stock up into the first round, upper tier of the first round, where you get that big contract money at the beginning? So that's going to be a situation where we have to see development long recruiting. I mean, North Carolina has picked up some good quarterbacks in the back. I mean, you got Coswell, who's been there, time, and then you had Luke May. You had May, the quarterback, come in. His father played at North Carolina at quarterback, so he came in there. You got that 6'7" Boza, who's supposed to be a very talented quarterback at 6'7". I mean, Carolina's got some good backup quarterbacks. They're 3 or 4 or 5 deep that he probably could turn it around. So I mean, what does North Carolina do at quarterback if Sam Howell decides to pull chalk? That's going to be a good question. How do they rebuild? I mean, they got a good wide receiver coming in. Out of Georgia. The receiving core is going to be rebuilt this year too. They got to have somebody besides Josh Downs catching the ball and trying to take the pressure off of Josh Downs so they can use him more in the passing game. What does North Carolina State? I mean, they got their core coming back. They got some of the offensive linemen coming back. They got the quarterback coming back. You got your safety coming back in Ingles. You got your quarterback in O'Leary. You got a couple of offensive linemen that are coming back. You got that linebacker got hurt all last year, Wilson. He's coming back. So I mean, North Carolina State is going to be a little bit stout this year. Coming back where they got some of their core players. So how they get the field? They got to get him. They got to get somebody to replace him. They got to get Walker back into that capacity of being consistent. Certain games Walker has not been consistent for North Carolina State. I mean, he's a speedster. He's a good talent. But he's got to get his consistency up. I mean, Emezi was that glue stick of the last game against North Carolina when they, made that comeback. I mean, he got wide open and busted coverage, but, unless he caught the ball and got the touchdown and, started that comeback a little bit, So, I mean, you got to replace him. So, where does North Carolina State go from there? Does North Carolina State beef up their defense? You got to get a little bit more linebacker depth. I mean, so that's gonna be a good situation for North Carolina State, and they're gonna have high expectation in North Carolina State this year, coming off this season. So can they improve? That's gonna be a question. What does Duke do under the new office, the new head coach and Malcolm's? What kind of staff is he gonna have? What kind of offense he's gonna have? What kind of defense he's gonna have? What kind of is he a good recruiter? That's going to be a question for Duke guys to answer, because Duke got to get some recruiting people in there. So, I mean, there's some situations that you got to look at it here in college football and stuff like that. So, college football is going to be around. We're going to be here every Saturday from 9 to 12, even during the off season. College football is 365 days a year. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff we can cover. Stuff like that. Recruiting, you can jump in different recruiting scenarios and look at what's transpiring during the college football off season. The show is not going nowhere. We do not take an off season here on this college breakdown show, where we, analyzing everything from the off season all the way down. We're going to try to add a college basketball. We're going to probably do some college basketball breakdown here on the college breakdown show on Saturdays. Get you ready for some of the big action that's going to happen on the weekend on college basketball. So we got a lot of stuff going on. We got a lot of reformatting to do after the football season. So, I mean, stick with us. We'll be right back after these messages. You're listening to, or you're watching, the All Sports, All Place Network College Breakdown Show. I am Ray Cruz, and we'll be back after these messages.
What did you say?
I said Kobe Bean Bryant has been overrated ever since he passed away.
Now, I'd say they could lose about 4, but I don't see them losing 5. You know what I mean?
All sports, all plays. 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 365, we're making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
Welcome back to the All Sports All Plays Network. I am Ray Cruz. I am your host of the College Breakdown Show here every Saturday at 9 a.m. all the way up to 12 noon. We're winding down the college football season. The only game that's on tap today is the Army versus Navy game. It's a tradition like no other. The game could be watched at 3 o'clock on CBS. If you have never seen the Army Navy game, it's very pageantry. It's the format. I mean, it's a good rivalry between Army and Navy. It's a big game. CBS has carried it. It's nationally televised all the way through all the CBS networks. It's the last game. It's a good showcase game. It represents the tradition of this country, tradition of the military, what these young men has to go through to get their stuff. I mean, the Naval Academy, the Army Academy, the Air Force Academies are a different breed. You can't go out and really recruit college football players itself. It's notoriety. How to get into the academy. They got to have a congressman, representative. They got to have good grades. So these talents of the team is totally different. That's why you see a lot of option team out of the Naval Academy, Air Force Academy. It's just got to be, got to be what handles right now with the, college coaches. This is a unique program, unique way to play college football. So we'll be breaking down that a little bit later on here to get you ready for that game at 3 o'clock. So we're breaking that down a little bit here later on. Let's talk about something here that, in the last few years has come around as the transfer portal. It's like the free agency of NFL. Kind of break it down a little bit to you. Person goes up to the head coach or to the university and say, I'm ready. I want to transfer. The university has up to 2 business days to get him into the NCAA transfer portal to make him available for other schools to go in there and look. If you look at something that's college football coaches are discussing revisiting recruiting calendar that could place more attention to the transferring current roster immediately after regular season. I mean, this is a good. To me, the transfer portal it's okay. Is it really hurting college football? Probably not, because they got a lot of players that want to go and get playing time. So if you're not getting playing time at current school, you don't want to be fell to the wayside of your career. You could go to another school and transfer out, and hopefully they'll pick you up and give you another opportunities to play. North Carolina's been hit. Football team has been hit with transfer portal. A lot of teams have been hit with it. Alabama had some people go in the transfer portal. Georgia has some. Look at Justin Fields when he went from Georgia to Ohio State. He went through the transfer portal. This is a good way to if your team is missing some holes, this is a good way to get that hole filled quickly. If you got a good team and you want to win now, that portal is good to win now, or as a portal is also as good to get players that are got 3 or 4 more years of eligibility left, and you get good players and you sell a little bit more, or you can get that player that you try to recruit and decided to go to another school but didn't like it, and then you can try to recruit them again through the transfer portal. So the portal you can help be a hit or a missed apparatus in this situation here that you're looking at. Where does recruiting? How does this play in recruiting high school players? It's still the high school players are not. You still got to go out and get your high school players too. These portals not going to take away for you going out and trying to get talented high school players to put you inside your program. But if you don't play them right away, can this transfer portal hinder them and say, hey, you're not playing me right away. I'm going to go somewhere that I want to go. I'm going to transfer out. So, I mean, that's going to be a little bit, thing there. I think college football is more intrigued in this transfer portal than other college sports. I mean, because you got a lot more players on a football. You got a 93 man roster in college. So you got a lot of players that you got to plug in. You got to get your 11 best, your 22 best players on your thing, and you got to 22. You got 44 players basically. You want to go too deep, so you got 44 players that basically gonna get some playing time. But you got the other ones that you're bringing in. If you can sell the program and say, hey, you redshirt here, you're gonna be moved up into this playing realm next year because you got a lot of players losing. So you got to sell your university if you're going to try to keep these players there. That's going to be the next key. How do we translate, people not going in, jumping in these transfer portals, going to other schools? I mean, you're going to have players that are not going to be happy at school, at the current school. Then some players say they made mistakes, so they want to go and try the portal and get, go to a better situation. I mean, this portal could hinder or could really help you. That's going to be the next thing here. Let's go ahead and bring in Coach Dante here. How you doing there, Coach?
What's good, man? What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? What's the fucking deal? What's up?
Not much. We're going right now. We're talking about the transfer portal. I'm going to take your take on Brent Venables at Oklahoma, the new head coach at Oklahoma. How do you translate his ability as a defensive coordinator and translate into the head coaching realm at Oklahoma?
Again, congratulations to Greg Venables. He's been a awesome defensive coordinator over there in Clemson. He's a national two-time. I think he's a two-time national championship winning defensive coordinator. So again, he's gonna take a winning culture over there in Oklahoma. But it'll be interesting to see if Keller Williams is gonna stay over there in Oklahoma. And like I say, with them moving to the SEC. I think it will kind of be a little tough for them to get wins over there. I think it will be more to do more better than Texas over there. But it's a great hire by Oklahoma hiring a two-time national championship head coach, and I think he'll bring a winning culture in there. So I like the hire by Oklahoma.
Yeah, and we also looking. We're talking about the Miami Hurricanes head coaching job. How they spun Manny Diaz because they were looking for a new athletic director. They poached the athletic director out of Clemson, and then they poached Mario Cristobal out of Oregon. Do you think Miami really did Manny Diaz a disservice?
I don't think they gave him a fair shake. I don't think they gave him a fair shake. I don't think they gave him a fair shake over there. Miami was in the top 25 this year before they got obliterated by Alabama. Then they lost their quarterback, Derek King. Miami was a mess this year, and I feel like he went through a lot of injuries, a lot of games. This team did not show up, and I just didn't think he didn't have a fair shake in Miami.
Yeah, and then pretty much that's all we talked about at the beginning of the show here in the first 30 minutes of the show. So I just want to get your quick take. Your take on the transfer portal. How do you see the transfer portal taking over college football?
Transfer portal taking over a lot in college football. I feel like it gives a lot of people an advantage. It depends on the system they want to go to. Transfer portal is taking over. I mean, a lot in college football. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it don't. But most of the time, it helps players gets them a new change of scenery and a fresh start. And I don't think the transfer portal is really actually that bad.
Yeah, I mean, not especially in college football, because if you look at college football and you look at you look at the different transfer portals and the transfer portals and stuff. I mean, college football, you got what 90 man rosters. So I mean, you got a lot of people that want to have playing time and don't want to sit at the bench all the time. So what do you look at? how does it affect college football for programs that want to win now? Does it really helps them, or really hampers them trying to keep the other recruits in too?
Sometimes it can help, sometimes it won't, but I think it kind of helps them trying to keep those other recruits in as well. Depends on the system that the player is going in. I think it kind of helps them bring those 5-star recruits in. Just depends on how dominant and how good basically the player is, man. But again, I don't see nothing wrong with the transfer board. I think it gives like players a fresh start of where they want to go. And maybe the player, if you're transferring, maybe it's not working out at your previous school. It did not work out at your previous school that you was hoping. Then you want to just go to another school that get you that will help you and help your game out. But I think it just brings a lot of possibly a top 10, top 5 recruiting, and it just brings you a 5-star player. And I think transfer portal helps more than it hurts.
Yeah, and then Andre says, "What's your thoughts on the Clemson coaching staff falling apart?" I gave you a little bit of my thoughts here on that. Debo Sweeney's gonna have to figure out who he needs to how he needs to replace. I mean, the offense coordinator is gone, the defense coordinator is gone. I think the offense coordinator went to Clemson and Elliott, and then you had your defense coordinator who is now at Oklahoma. So now, how does how does Debo Sweeney reinvent his coaching staff?
Oh, he's gonna find a way. You're talking about a great head coach in Davos Sweeney, and this year, this is really an off year for Clemson because you're actually used to seeing Clemson in that national championship hunt. Time to time, this is actually, if you ask them, this is actually an off year for Clemson. But I trust Davos Sweeney. He's gonna find the right offensive coordinator and the right defensive coordinator for this job.
Yeah, we can talk about that too. And then, you got, this is interesting. Instead, we're talking about the transfer portal. As of Friday, 280 FBS players have entered the portal since December 1st. So, I mean, that's a lot of players in that transfer portal here since December. I mean, a lot of them are hidden because of coaching change. How does a coaching change affect somebody's recruiting that's already been there and now they want to get out because they don't like the way the new head coach, or they don't want to work for him because the old head coach, that's who they came from the school. How does the new coach try to save their players not going into the transfer portal?
About building a relationship with them, taking them under their wing and building a relationship with them. Relationship is very key to any sport you play. You got to have that relationship. You got to let that player know what you're trying to do as a coach. And most of these players, they just like how some of them players transferred and went to USC over there with Lincoln Riley. Relationships just so important. They're used to the Lincoln Riley coming in their living room and just sitting down with them and building that relationship part of things with them, not just the football playing side, but the relationship part of things. So that's very important. You have to bond, you have to build that relationship and let that player know, hey, that you're the guy, or you're gonna, don't worry about it. You're gonna play. And you got to just build a relationship with those type players, with those players. That's very important.
Yeah, and not like a couple of different things here. North Carolina had like 5 or 6 players in the transfer portals. I mean, I understand their situation. The wide receiver, he had an injury the last 3 years. He wants to go somewhere that plays. He knows he got receivers that are coming in. They got a top high school recruit out of Georgia coming in. We're going to talk about recruiting here in a little bit about different schools and stuff like that. I got a recruiting list, so we can talk about that next time coming in. So let's finish up with this transfer portal issue here. Is the transfer portal a good way for coaches to, if you got a win now program, is that a good way to plug into holes? Instead of trying to get a high school player, fresh out of high school to plug the holes like they used to. How do you see, like Alabama going into that transfer portal, picking people out of the plugs and stuff? What school is going to be the best out of get recruits out of out of the transfer portal?
Alabama is always up there, regardless. They're always up there in recruitment, whether they're recruitment in the portal or recruitment outside of it, they always gonna get these 5-star athletes. Nick Saban is gonna always bring the number one recruits in, and it's gonna be recruits and people from the transfer portal want to go to Alabama because they're a winning culture. They are a winning team. They are a winning team. They're in every single year. So what players are not going to go to Alabama? And you're gonna have guys like USC, teams like USC up there. Maybe Texas up there gets something from the transfer portal. You're gonna have a plethora of teams up there getting it from the transfer portal, but it mostly is USC, Texas. They all be in that trend, be all up in the transfer portal, getting players that think they can help their team out.
Yeah, and I see that too. And then let's move over here. I see an update here that Oregon is looking at Dan Lennon. He should be the leading court candidate at Oregon. I know they went in to request UCLA requested for Chip Kelly interview. They regrinded him. I don't know if he said something in that interview that said he does not want to come back to Oregon right now. But the leading report is Dan Lanning to leave Georgia to become the Oregon next head coach, the defensive coordinator at Georgia. Do you see that happening here in the next few days, or is he going to wait until after the national championship game to make his official announcement?
It's a possibility it can happen in the next 2 days, but it may carry on to the national championship. But it's definitely a big possibility that can happen in the next 2 days.
Now, seeing him as a defensive coordinator, what kind of head coach person do you think he really is? And we can go with Jay with that first.
I
think don't say I see Jay quick. What's up, Jay?
I think he's okay. Man. I think he will be an okay head coach. I mean, again, another guy that's a part of a winning culture with Georgia, and I mean, he brings a lot of intensity and a lot of great a defensive mindset over there at Oregon.
What's your thought on Dan Lanning, the defensive coordinator at Georgia, trying to become the next head coach at Oregon? Jay?
You know, when I look at Oregon, I think of a high-powered offense. They always have a high-powered offense, and we always look at their defense to match. And I think that's where they kind of fall short on that spectrum. So I think bringing in a defensive-minded coach to a program that is already elite on the offensive side of the football, I think is a fantastic move for them, for that program. The other thing is, man, we sit here and we talk all the time when we talk college football, and we talk about the recruiting in the West Coast versus the recruiting of like the SEC teams and those bigger conferences. So I think bringing him over here, with his ties and everything, it'll help with that recruiting class. Bringing in some more of these big time recruits from the Alabamas, from the Oklahomas, from the Texas, from those type of states. So I think it's a good move from Oregon in a few different ways.
Do you think, since you're getting all these new head coaches, that transfer portal will help these new head coaches?
I think that's why we're seeing so many coaching changes the way we are. I think the transfer portal has made it easier for coaches to jump ship quickly and be successful. I mean, a few years ago, let's talk about this USC team. If you take this before the transfer portal, that UFC program is not a very enticing program at the moment. Their recruiting classes have been, subpar, compared to what USC recruiting classes have been like in the past. And with all the negative media insight on USC, it's not one of the best jobs out there. But with the transfer portal being over and being able to be, to bring some guys that are already bought into your system with you, and entice some other guys that maybe were on the USC radar and didn't like the coaching, choice, or, those type of things. That's where this transfer portal is really going to help out these coaches and really make it easier for them to jump ship and swing themselves into a new program like that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that point. And if you got a mentality you winning now, I mean, that transfer portal is a good useful tool because you can plug in somebody that's got college experience and vice getting to high school. But how does the transfer portal really affect the high school recruiting?
I'll let Coach go first.
I say, transfer portal. It just really, I mean, depends on the relationship of the coaches that sit in your living room. The draw the recruits to come to the school. I mean, I don't think it has a really great impact. I mean, you seen how Lincoln Riley has a great impact on it when he sat in those guys' living room, and then all of a sudden they decommit from Oklahoma and goes to USC. You had the top ranked quarterback decommitted from Oklahoma and going to USC because Lincoln Riley sat right there in their living room and built a bond with these guys. And you see multiple people as well. And I think I was hearing rumors that the defensive coordinator over there probably was going to USC as well with Lincoln Riley. So it's important to sit in these guys' living room and build relationships with these guys. And Lincoln Riley definitely has an impact on that. So it just depends on, I mean, like I say, relationships, guaranteeing the player basically he's gonna be the right guy for the job, help him out, help him with his game, and that's really big. That's really big for us. I know being out for these players, and then it really helps their decision better.
I know on my side of the fence, I feel like it's gonna affect it a little bit. I'll give you a perfect example. Let's talk about Spencer. Let's say ASU, for instance. So Spencer has these rumors going around where, ASU might be one of his spots. Well, for anyone that's in high school looking at ASU right now, as far as them coming out, that's something they have to take into account for. That's something they have to look at and try to see, okay, what decision is this guy going to make? Is he going to make that transfer? Is he going to come on over there? So, in my perspective, I think we start seeing more redshirt freshmen, that don't want to decommit. Let's say they've already committed to USC. Now, here he comes, Riley comes, he bringing in his personnel. I could see a high schooler coming out that's already committed to USC, already ready to go there, say, hey, let me take this year as a red shirt because they're bringing this guy in from Mizzou or from Oklahoma to start at this position. So I could see more red shirts, but I could also see more decommits towards, commit day. So we might still have, on signing day, we might have some people that end up jumping ship and going to a different school than what we were predicting or expecting because of that transfer portal and how it's going to affect them once they all get going. What up, Coach?
What up, man? What up?
Well, Coach.
What's up, man? How y'all doing?
We got the coaches on. It's the coaches' corner.
Yeah, man. Got the coaches on, man.
But yeah, no, I think the transfer portal, Ray, you were on mute, but I think the transfer portal will definitely affect some of the incoming freshmen on their decisions as we move closer to, signing day.
All right, Coach Bennett, what's your thought on the transfer portal?
I got mixed decisions, man, because especially it's one of those things when you have freshmen that don't get what they want, so they just dip, and it's like, oh, so forget it. But like I said, it works for more the upperclassmen, the juniors, the seniors. They have an opportunity, like that say play for Alabama. Okay, I won a national championship. I got one more year. I'm not a starter, so I can go to a school that needs a linebacker or it needs a receiver. I mean, perfect example. You take Alabama, the fast receiver. I can't think his name. He came from Ohio State, so he knew he wasn't gonna touch the field there. So he's like, "Well, shoot, I might as well go to
Let me get
Alabama
over here.
because they lost all the receivers. So I know I have an opportunity." I mean, it works good for, I think, upperclassmen. I think they should ban it. They should have it for like freshmen and sophomores because you see a lot of guys leaving. Because, like, matter of fact, my daughter, she was talking about one. He want to leave because he didn't start as a freshman. So he was like, I'm leaving. But, I mean, it works, like I said, for the upperclassmen, just finding a home to play. Because that's what you want to do. When it's all said and done, I mean, you get a free education, but you also want to play the competitive side.
And I agree with you on that part. I just think with the freshman sophomore banning thing, it would make it a little bit more difficult, kind of take away from what they're trying to accomplish with it, just for the simple fact that, we do have guys that are leaping out of the college football scene quickly. And then we do have this coach carousel that's been going on. I think for me, it's been like 10 years that I've been seeing coaches just in and out of teams.
Yeah.
And I think that has a major effect on the longevity of a young man's career at a college program. I mean, when you come in and you're in coach is sitting in front of me and coach sells me on his philosophies and I'm riding with coach and he's like, these are the X's and O's. This is how we're going to play this game. And it works right into your strengths. And then here comes Riley. And Riley's like, no. These, I don't know what he told you, but this is not what we're going to do over here. These are not, no, your strengths are this, but this is what we play. That changes things. And, we talk about it all the time, especially with quarterbacks, majority of the time. But systems mean a lot for the production of a young guy. Being able to get into a program where it highlights your strengths, highlights what you're good at, and masks what you're bad at, what your weaknesses are. So I know the transfer portal to me is something to kind of like a solve all for these youngsters, to where it's like, man, I don't want to be the idiot. I don't want to be the guy that speaks out and has the bad reputation on the team for, being frustrated, not seeing the field, not having those promises that were told to me in my living room when my mom and dad were sitting there before I decided to come out here, not being fulfilled. So it gives them I guess it's a way out at the end of the day, but it gives them a way to save face and still try to prolong or, exceed in their career.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's like I said, it's anything that you do, there's always good and bad. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So no matter what, like there's always 100 positives, but then guess what? There's also 100 negatives. So it's kind of like,
Correct.
I just like that's the only thing that I've seen that I don't like when you are a freshman and you're mad because they have a senior and you want to leave, or that junior beat you. Like I said, even with that freshman, I told her, I was like, he at least could have stayed and got in the transport portal in May. At least go through spring ball and have a competition. And then if you realize
the next season,
then you realize like, hey, okay, I can't do it. Then all right, I'm leaving in May. And then you got the summer break to go look at the schools and do stuff like that. I mean, that's I think that's one of my things. A lot of people dipping out. You dip out in January. Like I said, I can understand if you were a junior thing because you see the writing on the wall. Like you kind of know, like, all right, I'm not going. I'm
third rodeo.
Yeah. So all right, I need to move around. But I mean, but the transfer portal is going to work wonders for especially a lot of these new coaches that is going to new schools.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one person that interests me, and I've been looking through the transfer portal, is Jacoby Copeland, the wide receiver out of Florida, the number one wide receiver out of Florida. I mean, I know the coaching change of Dan Mullins and stuff like that. What kind of writing did he see on the wall to leave? Did he didn't think that Napier's offensive scheme is going to work for him? Where do you see him landing at?
That's a good question. it can be anywhere. He can go. You can land in Bama. Where's he from?
I don't know where Jacoby's from. I'm looking at
He's from Pensacola, Florida.
okay, he's from right there at home.
Yeah.
I'm looking at their 2020 committing class. They're ranked 74th. They have the 14th ranked SEC recruiting class, which is horrible.
Oh, that's what's her name, mama. I just thought about it. That's what I was thinking. That's the mama that said he should have went to Alabama.
Yes, that's the one that was upset at the podium. Yeah, that was last year on signing day. His mama walked off the podium.
I was like, damn, that name sounds familiar. I mean, to be honest, like I said, you might try to dip at Alabama because
what's the name might go too.
Meacham might lead. The fast receiver might dip. So I mean, that's the one. Honestly, truthfully, if you want my opinion, that was the one weakness. Other than the O-line, that was the biggest weakness that I've seen on the offense is the receiving core.
And that's rare for Alabama.
Yeah, they weren't as explosive as they used to be in the past.
I don't think they had the 1-2 combo that they usually have with the running back wide receiver, threat that they typically have. Like last year they had the Najee and what you call it, not Jamar. I can't get his name right now. I'm in a brain fart, but they had Devontae. But they had them both last year, so I think it's just that dynamicness. It just wasn't there this year.
Yeah, I mean, if I was him, honestly, truthfully, I'd try to go to Alabama. I'd stay in Florida, Miami, Florida State. It's just, but you got to look at it for him. Since you're a receiver, you got to look at what you have at quarterback.
Correct.
And that's going to fit you. So you can say possibly a Tennessee or Ole Miss. Like you could stay in the SEC because I'm sitting here thinking, or even a Clemson, like that likes to throw the ball and they don't have a strong receiving core. But
hey, we could use them out here at ASU.
Yeah, we definitely can use them at Texas because again, you got two capable quarterbacks that can do it. It's just Steve Sarkisian. It's just Steve Sarkisian over there. I mean, the way the culture of this Texas Longhorns team has changed and how bad we got. We lost a couple of receivers, I think, that are out there that transferred already. So that would be probably a good fit for him. Alongside Xavier Worthy, probably our best receiver that we got in that building. So Texas wouldn't be a bad idea. Wouldn't be a bad idea for him to go too.
Yeah, I mean, he got to stay in the South, if you ask my opinion. Because, like I said, I even thought about USC. It came in my mind, but USC finna be loaded.
Well,
they finna be loaded.
Yeah, they are. They gonna.
Because one thing about it is, I don't. California, and Jay can probably attest to this because like people that I know from California, they're like anything out there that plays football and you have a quality coach at USC. USC is like the Cowboys. It's like, hey, that's where everybody wants to go from California to go play college football.
Well, I mean, look at USC and then look at the surrounding Pac-12 schools. I mean, not just California. We'll take it all the way through the Pac-12. USC, you go to USC, your chances of going to the NFL have skyrocketed.
Yes.
When you're talking about Pac-12 football.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they got John Booty that went to the. So I ain't even gonna get into all the USC stars that have gone to the NFL that shouldn't have gone to the NFL. But
I agree with you, and that's the thing. Like even because if Riley was there at USC 2 years ago, Bryce Young wouldn't have went to Alabama. Like a lot of these California cats would have stayed right at home. So they're gonna be loaded. But
just to kind of go back to what you were saying though, Coach, in regards to his transfer portal, those are gonna be some of the things I look at. Where are the guys that end up going to a North Dakota State or end up getting into, a Colorado State or a BYU that we're looking for that bigger school that just didn't make it that year, but were able to ball out a little bit, show what they're capable of, and then enter that transfer portal to get to the school they wanted to get to.
Yeah,
That's the other way around in this.
Yeah, it is. Because matter of fact, a kid I used to coach when he was younger, he went to Memphis out of Marshall. He went to Memphis his first 2 years. Once he got out of Memphis, he's at USC right now as we speak. Like he's a starting receiver at USC. So like he had offers. So when he put himself in the transfer portal, he had a whole bunch of offers, and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to USC." Like I said, you see, like he's been balling, man, making some catches and stuff. So, I mean, that's the thing is you can use the transfer portal for your advantage to where you can get to where you need to go. Because it's kind of like one of those things, like you said. Let me go to this school. Let me ball out. Now I got college film.
Mm-hmm.
Now let me throw some out there and see if I get a bite.
Yeah, because I mean, every receiver needs a, especially if you're an NFL caliber receiver, you need an NFL caliber quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, when I look at ASU, I'll use it again. I'm gonna stay a little homer on it. We got Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels he has a NFL caliber arm. He has an NFL caliber style of play when it comes to the quarterback position. He's a dual threat. He can throw the deep ball. He's pretty accurate. He needs a NFL caliber wide receiver out there to elevate him to that next level. And, you know, you can only be, you know, yourself and go so far if you don't have that repertoire or that backing to help you push that. You're throwing the ball in the air. Somebody got to come down with it.
Yeah, I agree. Y'all had some receivers though. How many receivers went to the league?
Well, last year, but you're talking about the last two. Yeah, when Brandon Ayuk went and then N'Keal Harry went, it really hampered us.
Yeah, he did. What's his name? Do a good job, but he's a defensive coach. He didn't do a good job getting receivers.
Well, we had that scandal.
Yeah, you did have that.
That messed us up with our committing class last year. That threw away a couple of our high 4 and 5 star commits that left, and then we had that running back Rashad, but Rashad talking about entering transfer portal too. So that'll be basically, I think it's 3, 4, and 5 star recruits that we lost in the last 2 years. You know, so I love Herm. I love the coaching staff that we have here. I just think we fucked up. You don't come in your first year and right off the bat you get some violation like that. That's not a good look.
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah, and I look at it this way too. And if you look at California recruiting, now UCLA, you got Chip Kelly there. We know the situation that he's not going to probably take the Oregon job. They're looking at the defensive coordinator as the leading candidate out of Georgia. So when Lincoln Riley came to USC, did that change the landscape of recruiting in California?
Yes. Because he has what you call proven stats. He has what you call, think about it. What, the past 6 years, he got 2 Heismans and 3 quarterbacks starting for an NFL team. Like, you got CD Lamb, you got receivers starting. Not just, we're not talking about playing, but they're big names.
They're big names that maturing into superstars type players.
So it's like now, because one thing about it is everybody knows offensively they're going to be good. I'm just curious to see who he's going to have as his defensive coordinator. I don't know if he already figured it out yet. That's going to be the turning point because you're going to get the guys that you need to be successful. And to being honest, we're talking about in 2 years, they're in the top. They're playing for a playoff. They're playing in the playoffs, in my opinion, because I think it's going to turn around that fast because you're going to get the best of the best athletes out of California.
So you're calling it right now, they beat Oregon within the next 2 years?
Oh, yes, without a doubt. Because here's
no doubt. That's not even a question.
Because you don't even know they don't even have a coach. So now by not having a coach, the only thing you're selling people on is your jerseys. That's it. That's all, the Nike. That's all you selling people on because you don't have. Because how do you sit into somebody's house and say, hey, we're gonna run this? How are you gonna run that? You ain't got a coach.
Yeah, what coach, what philosophy, what game plan?
So at least Lincoln Riley has the ups on them because you have proof. Hey, every receiver. Hey, let CD Lamb. Hey, talk to him real quick. Murray, Hey, look, hop on the phone. Matter of fact, he can say, "Hey, Mary, on Mary's off time. Hey, come talk to him." I mean, that's the beauty of it because he has proven facts of people that's there, that's in the league that we see, and you can say from any type of person, from Kyler Murray, even Hurts came in. Yeah. Anybody in the transfer report, you can say, "Hey, a quarterback or anybody, hey, you can be like Hurts."
Who's his quarterback? Who's their quarterback right now?
Ooh,
Minshew.
No, USC.
Isn't it the Eagles? Isn't Minshew the quarterback?
No, we're talking about USC.
Oh, my bad.
USC.
Let me see.
Jackson Dart or Keldon?
Yeah, Jackson Dart. It's Jackson Dart. I think it's Jackson Dart. That's the last quarterback I seen that played that UCLA game. It's Jackson Dart.
See, the one thing I'll tell you, Coach, I'm kind of opposite. I know they're going to have a good defense next year. The one thing I'll tell you about USC, I don't care what goes on in the limelight of college football. USC gets linebackers. USC gets corners every single year.
But I'm saying, it's just the scheme of who's going to call the plays.
Yes.
He got to lead them. He got to lead them Oklahoma defensive coaches back where they at.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Jay.
No, I agree with you because I think that, one thing that Lincoln's good at, like you said, is finding that talent, that generational, I would say, talent, because it's CeeDee Lambs, the Jalen's, the Kylers, and putting them on the field and using them correctly. So I know for sure they're going to have a great defense next year. The next 2 years, it's going to be strong by that third, like you were saying, 3 years to compete for a championship. I could see that complete for playoffs. I could see that because they're going to build, and Riley's going to build it quick. But my thing is the quarterback position is who, because he's had the Kyler, he had those. Who's going to come in and really take over? Because I don't see. That's why I asked who's the quarterback over USC, because I don't see it on their roster right now.
But that's the thing, though, Jay. One thing about the three quarterbacks we named, they weren't starters. Like they were all transfers. Kyler Murray was at A&M and transferred in.
Yep, transferred to Oklahoma. Yep.
What's the name? I can't even think his name. Jalen Hurts was from Alabama, but even the quarterback before that, who plays for the Browns right now.
Baker Mayfield.
Baker.
He was at Texas Tech. Like it wasn't like that.
He walked on.
And I think that's the one thing about it. He's an offensive guy. He's a quarterback guy. He has a proven offense. So everybody knows that some quarterbacks there. They know, Spencer, hey, at any moment, I can get going.
Is this a spot for Spencer?
No, Spencer's
no. You ain't giving Spencer no love.
No, Spencer, you stay where you at.
Hey, I don't even feel bad because they was talking about him going over to ASU. I'm like, nah, man.
He's not going. No,
I'll stay here with Jaden.
Like he rolled with Spencer because he was the veteran. He had him for a year, but he was like, nah, man. And he did it smooth. He add that freshman in. No, man.
He did. Now, could he come over?
I can see Keller Williams come over before Spencer Rattler. I can actually see Keller Williams transferring over there if everything don't work out in Oklahoma. I can actually see Keller Williams transferring over there.
But I think that's the thing, though. I think that's the one thing I have to say about Oklahoma. They hired a head coach, and before he hired anything else, he hired old boy from Ole Miss. That was the best decision, fastest thing to do, because now he can have that dude just make sure he stays in that quarterback's ear. I think that's one of the. I think he'll stay because he looks like one of them loyal guys. But if like I say, he might go through spring ball and say I don't like this, and then he might just deal. But
didn't they lose four commits already? Didn't they lose 4 commits already? Oklahoma.
Yes,
they lost 4 commits, and with that NIL and with the transfer rule, as long as you don't play no more than 4 games, you still can play in the same season. So they got a top 100 quarterback that's still floating around out there that was going to go to Oklahoma, Then he changed his mind. He was going to LSU. So that kid is still out there. He's pretty good. I think he's like 6'4". Good, strong arm. He went to a private academy down there in Florida. That kid, that 707 school. So with that NIL playing in the first year, there is room for success for all these coaches that transfer if they do it right.
Correct.
Because all these kids look into the ideal situation. Downtown LA, I'm sorry. And if you're trying to be a social media person, I'm sorry. I mean, that's where it's at. That's where that next gen is at.
Yes.
And you talk about recruiting wise. I mean, look at Mac Jones. He left California to go to Alabama. Think about that. He left California to go to Alabama. That's not like a genius move, but you look at the backstory on it. Seems like a pretty damn smart idea.
No, I agree with you.
I mean, I'm looking at USC right now. They got a 5-star recruit running back, Raleek Brown, coming in. They got
that was a transfer. Yep.
And then they got Fabian Ross, who's a 4-star corner. Outside of that, it's kind of quiet on their front court. So, I mean, Lincoln can really come in. I mean, Riley can really come in and do what he pleases, so to speak, because they do have a weak class. So I do see that transfer portal going to have to be his friend this year. It's going to have to be his friend.
The thing about it, Ray, this is my question. This is everybody. What did USC get in trouble for?
Proper infractions with money. See, they're a private school. They're never going to tell us what happened because that's the laws when it comes to a private institution.
And guess what? All them California ex-USC professional players, like you even hear Keyshawn Johnson, if you were hear him in the morning, he always talks about USC.
Yeah.
Like these guys
can't even talk about them anymore. He can't say nothing about them anymore. Lindale White can't say anything. We got to throw Matt in there. And that's right now.
But that's what I'm saying. These cats is going to come out the woodwork and have these connections and make these phone calls and make these talks and help get these kids back. Because
this is the worst Heisman class ever that we're about to witness today. The worst ever. Next year, watch how far and fast the receiver position goes. Leading the pack is going to be that West Coast. Watch and look at all these receivers coming out. Next year is the year of the receiver. The receiver's going to kill the game. And
you know, the other thing is, I think that when we talk about the USCs and a big part of this coaching change, I'm going to add to is a factor of these players now being able to accept sponsorships, getting paid, these type of things. So now when we put it into play, what we're seeing here, what schools are getting these coaches? The big, high dollar, pocket deep schools, because these schools,
see buddy ball.
Man, because we're about to see some of the craziest recruiting over the next 5 years. We're about to see people coming in with sponsorships before they're signing. We're about to see people signing their commit letters and signing for a sponsor at the same darn table. Okay, and
you take the money off the table. If the money is gone, now there's only left for you to play ball. No more excuses. The money is taken care of. The family, the great aunt, the great uncle, grandma, the cousin, the nephew, your brother, your sister, all that now is taken care of. There are no more excuses why you can't perform on Saturdays no more. No more.
No.
And we're going to see less and less of those situations that we saw at the commits signing day last year when Vic was talking about earlier, when old boy's mom got pissed off because he didn't go to Alabama. He went to Florida.
That was crazy.
We're going to see less of that too.
That was so disrespectful. Here's another thing we're going to see. We're going to see more and more kids don't play in these bowl games as well either. We're going to see that too. They're going to pull out of these bowl games because the agent and chasing the bag dream theory story is saying, look here. Look how they already devaluing your position right now. So we have to be cautious and careful how we play these games that don't mean nothing on Sunday.
Yep.
But it's like I said, when they let the money come out, you're gonna see schools like USC. You're gonna see schools like A&M. You're gonna see schools like perfect example, University of Texas. University of Texas has this thing. I don't know. I forgot what they call it because we were talking about it. They're giving $50,000 a year for your lineman. If you're on the roster as an old lineman, you will make $50,000. a year.
You talking about pancakes, right?
Yeah, the pancake
That's
thing.
just like Grand Canyon University. Those kids get banked if they play football. They're already taken care of. No matter if you play football, they got one booster. 60 minutes of the story. One booster got you.
You said Grand Canyon?
Grand Canyon University. Look how fast that program is growing financially. It's insane. That's
Grand
what
Canyon
the
don't have a
second
football team yet.
institution built online. It's the second institution built online and now has a sports program.
So,
Yeah, it's definitely going to be different. We're going to start seeing more chokeholds on divisions. Like we see now, we see these powerhouses. You see your Alabamas. You see, your well, I ain't even gonna call it Clemson, but they had a couple years. But we see these bigger schools, that are controlling the limelight right now. And we're about to make a big shift. This is where Notre Dame might take a big leap because they got plenty of Wonder Bread.
They're not. You know why? They're not. Only reason, here's the knock on Notre Dame. You got to be phenomenal outside of football to be at Notre Dame. Like the education wise, like to get in, it's not normal for like Alabama. Alabama say, hey, all I need you to do is sign your name on his SAT, and we figure it out. Notre Dame say you gotta have a GPA coming in 4.0. You gotta have this. You need to have that. Like that's the only knock. If I'm telling you, Kelly would have stayed if Notre Dame lowered their educational stuff, the standard.
No.
But I'm gonna tell you something else.
Notre Dame, you gotta be led
convince the kids to come to that lifestyle, to Catholicism, that have no idea what that's about, and to understand that. You ever been to South Bend, Indiana?
Yeah, I have.
South Bend, Indiana, and Green Bay. If you can do those two jobs, convince people to come there, you're a bad motherfucker. You tough. Tough if you can pull that off.
That's the thing. Notre Dame, regardless of the situation, Notre Dame is still one of them schools, like with kids, they would like to go play there, but it's the educational part. It's the educational part. Man, they don't like it's. I mean, more than anything.
But here's the thing on my side. When I look at these kids coming up right now, I look at a sophomore in high school and I look at his parents and I say, okay, this boy right here wants to play at Notre Dame. And like you say, Vic, he needs these grades to be here, right? Well, if I spend $30,000 over 3 years making sure my son has the best tutors, the best
in high school,
but this is what I'm saying. Listen, hear me out. If I spend $20,000-$30,000 over those 3 years to make sure my kid has the best tutors, the best training, the best everything, and you tell me that at the end of his senior year, we'll just take Texas, the example that you gave, Dre. We'll just take that example. You telling me that Notre Dame saying, hey, I'm gonna give you $50,000 a year just for being on the roster at this position. That's worth it.
That's deep.
In fact, you take it a step further. These players are getting scouted coming out of junior high. Let's be honest.
Heck yeah. I mean, you got to look at the basketball game. They now can get scouted in sixth grade. Sixth grade, they can actually start pitching orders now to the basketball player
because they're able to come out of high school.
Yeah.
So it's a different.
And now with the NIL being in place, now I need mom and dad, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa to all to be on point and understand what's about to happen to your grandchild.
What is going down?
You got to understand that. You can't go in here blindsided. You need to watch videos.
It's a whole new game.
Understand the financial implications.
The dad and mom need to go through public speaking classes and things.
Social media.
There's a lot to it.
You need that.
Hey, listen. Listen. I have a 6-foot 8th grader that's walking through here right now as we speak. Get over here.
Hey, I thought you saw Bigfoot the way you were looking and stuttering right there.
Hey, no, I'm just saying because it was like when you talk about that, I have him, and even the conversations that we have, like when I talk to him, it's especially I said, hey, your grades are important because the grades is gonna boost you up. And then the financial aid, I say now let's talk just making money. I said you can, because of your size and your athletic ability, you're gonna go play college football. I said right now you dictate what level you're gonna play on. Mm-hmm. So a lot of things that even with him that I'm working with, understanding the thing about money, understanding about assets, understanding how to grow your money, because at the end of the day, because it doesn't matter what level you on, someone's gonna they're gonna pay you to do what you got to do, and they're gonna offer you. I said, make yourself presentable to everybody, listen to everything, and like you said, Jay, learn how to talk, get in a speech class, get in this, look, do these things. I said, we're not gonna go to school and just be in art if you're not taking that anywhere in your life, or we're not gonna be in theater. Let's do stuff that's gonna be productive in your life. Like he's gonna take a dance class his freshman year. Okay, so you can be flexible. That's you're gonna stretch. You're gonna do all these things. So, and I mean, and that's the conversations, like I said, that we have with me and him, because, like I said, he's 6 foot in 8th grade.
Jesus.
They said him when he was born. They was like, hey, he's gonna be a big one.
The doctor pulled off the mask and said, "Sir, you might want to come see."
So he said that. Hey, they said, I mean, that's the thing. Like his range is 6'4" to 6'2". So like I told him, so I was like, hey man, but then that was a conversation. I played wide receiver. I'm like, hey son, I'll be honest with you. I know you want to play wide receiver like your dad, but guess what? You are a tight end. You are a D end. You might play a little outside linebacker. Hey, let's focus on those things. Basketball, you'll post up.
And that's the thing, though.
Go ahead, Jay.
That's the thing, though, Coach. You're a fabulous father for that. And we got to remember that 70% of the people we're talking about don't have that.
And that's true. And that's I 100%. And speaking on that, and this is the honest truth, I think COVID really, really, really hurt us. It really hurt the people that don't have parents or have that guidance. You could really see that separation in that line because of COVID. Because that year and a half, 2 years of doing nothing, because you got to remember, in Texas, when COVID hit, March 4th, we were out of school. We kept the same grades. So if you really think about it, you got kids from March 4th to September didn't do any schoolwork.
Wow.
They didn't do anything because it was like, hey, just keep the grade what it is. If they get online, because everybody didn't have internet and this and that, so you didn't want to. So it was like we tried to figure out. Us as teachers, we was like, okay, they didn't. This guy hasn't talked. He hasn't said nothing. He hadn't came to a Zoom meeting or nothing. So they haven't done anything since August. Man. So when school started back up in September, we gave them the option. And the parents weren't really in the house. What do you think they did? So they haven't done anything for 2 years, almost 2 years. And now, when August hit, we're back in the teaching mode of how to be a student, because they went from I get to stay up late, I sleep in. Now
so you're teaching them how to be a first grader again.
Yeah, because now is okay. I got to listen to you, because usually when you catch you just click the exit button. I'm like, I'm going, forget them. And I think that's where, like you said, now that separation goes. So the ones now, parents, they got the money, all the stimulus checks and everything. They just blew it off instead of taking that time to teach these kids. So you're going to see a lot of kids, especially college kids, that are not mentally strong, and they're going to hop
that this past year.
And they're going to hop the portal. They're going to hop in that portal, school to school to school, and you're going to be like, dang, what happened to them?
I think
first sign of adversity, they jump ship, just like Dion said. They don't hang around. If there's something going on, they're going to leave. And it's a good thing that they get a chance to transfer and it's not messing with their eligibility. But on the other end, what is the lesson learned behind us? All this jumping schools when there's an issue
run away from your problems
with the child. That's the problem that I think that must be overcome with all these transfer rules.
No, and I agree. I mean, there has to be something set in place to kind of make sure it doesn't get out of hand. But again, right now, Dre, I think we're in a pivotal point in college sports, college football more specifically. But what is going to entice them to fight through the adversity that typically the college student would have had to fight through? And kind of going back to what I was referencing before, people are going to be getting bought. Players aren't going to be playing necessarily for the schools that they dreamed about playing for. I think more players are going to be playing for schools that paid them the most or gave them the most enticing offer. But it goes back to kind of like what you were saying though, Vic, and what I was kind of getting at earlier is that like you're there, you're sitting down with them, you're taking them through the necessary steps and giving him the kind of the game plan of what he's going to foresee, and flipping that and looking at what we've opened up in college sports. Now you at 8th grade teaching your son what to do and how it's going to go. Now you have this guy that spotted your son that let's say he plays for Texas or he coaches for Texas, and he's like, yo, we want your son. Let's go back to the Notre Dame thing. We want your son. We're gonna send you a recruit. I mean, what's the damn word?
Check.
I got no, not the check, but the tutor. We're gonna send you a tutor to make sure that those grades stay where they need to be throughout high school. We're gonna send you a tutor to make sure that you keep these Notre Dame eligibility grades up to where
we're gonna blindside your ass. We're gonna do you Michael Orr style. We'll get you too.
Right. Because now there's more reasoning behind Notre Dame going to do that. Because now there's so much more competition. If I can catch this guy coming in 9th grade and build that trust with him and say, hey, I had your hand all 4 years of high school to make sure that you got to where you wanted to be, it changes the landscape.
I think buddy ball and NIL is really going to change the landscape. A lot of these kids want to play together. They want to keep the tradition together. True. I think Tulane, the U, and Texas A&M, and I think we can probably throw University of Alabama, Birmingham in there, where more than 5 kids from one high school followed each other to the same college. I think we're going to see more of that than anything, because now if you got an offensive lineman that's popular on social media, he's getting that NIL money. He's going to take care of the offensive line. The receiver going to come in with his own swag, the running back, the quarterback. So the money game is off the table. So let's get out here and play ball. And guys that have that connection already, that know how to swag with each other, that's going to really push the envelope even further. But we only got 2 years now, though. These kids are in and out right now in football in 2 years.
Yep.
It's kind of sad. 4 years no more.
Yeah, it's kind of sad because you do got those guys that are not those once-in-a-lifetime talents that need all 4 years. With guys coming in and out so much, especially at premier skilled positions, it does hurt those guys.
Yeah, that's why I think the NFL and college need to come together and figure out a minor league system.
Do you think?
I agree.
But do you really think? And I'm just, I think it goes back to one of those things, because now you can have an agent now, correct? Am I right? Mm-hmm.
So they have with the NIL, they have these advisors to make sure you know how to handle your money with NIL, which I think is genius by the College Football Association, peered across the board. There's someone there to help these kids manage that type of money. Half of these kids never had a checking account, open up a checking account.
Yeah,
I know how to handle money like that or with monthly payments. So they have someone that's there. And as Real Sports with Brian Gumbel pointed out last month episode, there haven't been any issues yet. So far, so good. It's also like an internship for the up-and-coming sports agent. These are their clients now that they're taking care of, the collegiate athlete that's getting that NIL experience. And it's also giving the intern experience on how to handle the athlete with sponsorship.
I think that's going to be the question. If you sit and you think about it, if you go in, because usually I know after each year they say, hey, if you want, you're eligible to go to the league, but right now you are a 5th or 6th round draft pick. Why risk it if you're already a starter where you're at and you're making good money, then go to the league and get cut?
Because they see these stories of these 4th to 7th round draft picks that are now household names.
I know, yeah.
Tom Brady.
Anomaly that happens to.
I mean, that's cool. That's cool. But you see the 4th, 5th, 6th round draft picks. But if I'm a sophomore, if I'm a junior, and you say I'm a 5th, 6th round draft pick, I mean, that's even, like I said, that's one of those conversations where you'd be like, look, you stay another year, and like, take perfect example. Everybody showed them talked about it. The quarterbacks are not strong this year, correct?
No, not at all. Good point.
So guess what? If you look and you say, hey, you are the top quarterback in this draft, if you go now, you're gonna probably get picked in the 2nd, 3rd round. But if you are the 6th quarterback, you can stay another year and build up your collateral, because there's the only one that's probably good enough to come out is Bryce Young if he comes out next year.
But see, I'll flip you on that. I'll flip that, because my thought process on that is I'm the 6th quarterback on a horrible draft class. So next year, if the draft class is 2 times better than this, and I'm the 6th quarterback on a horrible draft class, what are the odds of me rising in the drafting ranks? What are the odds of me rising on that board?
But no, go ahead. I didn't hear your last part. But I think that's you keep blanking out, Jay. like you say, what are the odds, and then your mouth is moving.
No, because every time I get it, me and you's going back at the same time. So I go to say something, you go to say, we just catching each other. No, go ahead, sir.
Nah, I just truly, I don't know, but I think that's the beauty of it, because now that you kind of have the money in the college ranks, it's kind of like one of those things. You sit there, because we say all these older guys, they weren't making this money. Like Tom Brady had to go because he was a senior. Like, correct. But you look at now, if I'm a 5th or 6th round draft pick, and I can possibly get cut and don't make any money. So now once I go into the draft, I lose my eligibility. So let me stay here. I know I'm making 100,000. I'm making 100,000 right now. So let me build my collateral. And guess what? Even if, like you said, Jay, even if I was a 6th on the side draft class, and then I can only make myself better the next year.
Yeah, but what's the 2nd round guaranteed? They're guaranteed a meal ticket, ain't they? 2nd rounders, they're guaranteed like 1.5 or something, a couple mil.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, I'm saying 1 through 4 possibility, but that 5, 6, 7, like you.
Yeah, no, if you're down in that range, you're right. You know unless you're a senior.
I'm coming from nothing. I don't give a damn what pick I am. I'm coming from nothing.
But Dre, that's fine. But let me ask. But this is the question: if you're making 100,000 going to school and playing football, why risk it?
Because you're saying the position that the guy is playing is not a position where that money is guaranteed that we're going to play. There's absolute success at that. I get what you're saying on that. But isn't all this taking a chance? I mean, what's to say we're going to ball out the following year and not get hurt? What's to say the schedule we're going against is not going to put me in the best limelight? That's another decision that a lot of guys decide from the stories they tell, what they should have done with another year eligibility. Should they have left early? Should they have played in that game? That's a whole lot of things that go in the process. What do you have to earn by playing? It's just like in bowl games. What do you have to do? Didn't Bosa get a lot of criticism for not playing in the bowl games? Both of them? They didn't play in the bowl games because what is this going to do to my stock? Nothing. It's just like with
they're in a different limelight.
What's that?
Yeah, I said they're in a different limelight. Once you hit that first rounder, top 15, that type of area, then no. You should be out of the bowl. You're done. You don't need to go in there. You're not fighting for anything unless we're talking about a national championship, unless we're talking about something like, the WAC conference, your first one, or down there in, Jackson State. Those are big deals. Those are historic.
Like this Heisman class. I think all these guys need to ball out in their bowl games. to get that more of the,
Every
is this
single one
real?
of
This
them.
is more of a real thing.
But-
People want to actually see these guys play ball.
Yeah, but I don't even know what class. I know like Bryce Young, he's a sophomore, so he has another year. I don't know. I think the DN from Michigan, he's good. He's gonna be he's a first round draft pick.
That's a grown man there.
I'm trying to
No,
think.
he's
I
gonna
don't-
be a top 3 pick. I believe he's gonna be a top 3 pick.
Well, I should have said top 5. I don't because it all depends on like if the Cleveland Browns is the top 5, they're not gonna draft another end. So I mean I don't know who it is, but Bryce Young, I think Bryce Young showed a lot, and I think he has to come back another year. Like I said, I don't know the top of my head who's all in the Heisman Trophy, Heisman. But I think this year, like even if you look at the draft, if you say the draft is going to be O-line, D-line, probably DB heavy.
People are tired of losing their quarterbacks.
It's gonna be the O-line, D-line heavy this draft because
honestly, that's what the league needs. That's the positions. Those are the 2 positions that are down in the league. But that's offensive line.
But the D-line, the lean line is gonna be. It's always gonna be. I mean, the O-line is gonna always be down because of how the CBA did all the rules. I mean, we talked about this at one of the shows. It's how the CBA have all the rules set. They can't really work together as much as they used to. Like even the practice, because O-line needs practice time. Like you have to bang with D-line, you have to bang with the guys next to you because it's all about communication, understanding the stunts, the twist, and being active. And you can see it with that. That's one of the biggest faults because everybody says, because if you really think about it, in the NFL, no one's really running the ball except the Colts and Tennessee. And you can say put the Patriots. Those are the only 3 teams that legitimately say, okay, we smash them out. And I think that's the one fault. That's the one thing that's the biggest issue is like the CBA set it up to where you don't get that work with the O-line because everybody, all the other positions, you can do individualized. Like running routes, all you need is a quarterback to throw you the football to run the routes. The DB is just backpedaling, working on your tackling. Same as linebackers. You can do that. You don't need each other to do that. So I think that's one of the CBA rules that messed everything up. But it's going to boost the money for O-linemen because it's going to be a need again.
You are right. You're definitely right on that. Good point.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with that part. The only thing that in kind of the reference I was making with it was that a lot of our old linemen that we've been seeing over the past 10, 12 years, they're older now. The lineman group, the great lineman group in the NFL right now is older. Your Eric Fishers, we can go on and on. There's 2 to 3 on every single team that are on their way out. So I think that, it's good that we're going to have a strong offensive lineman class. I think we're going to see a lot of offensive linemen go in the first 2 rounds. And then, again, though, looking at that, the quarterback position, Bryce, he's going to go out. He's going to come out now. He's going to get picked in the first 2 rounds. I mean, obviously. But looking at that, it puts it in perspective to where you have guys that are going to stay an extra year, that are going to be able to do that now because of the pay. Because they have it. So it's just going to make it easier all around the board. But I do think a transfer portal will add to that as well. And I think some people might jump ship because of the transfer portal. You look at a team like, let's say USC. Let's say they end up bringing, just hypothetically speaking, let's say they bring in a Spencer, and you got a junior that's sitting there and he's had a decent year. Well, now he might look in, okay, can I transfer? Or is this time for me, because we do have a weak quarterback class, to jump into the hill and try to make that leap? So, it's going to be a double-edged sword. It just really is just going to be depending on the circumstances of each one.
Yeah. I agree with you. I mean, just to piggyback on that, Georgia's quarterback, he came from USC.
Yep.
Like you're gonna see that. I mean, you can say Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow came from Ohio State. Like you see the transfer, you see these cats that's not starters or nobodies, and they go somewhere. I mean, think about it. Like people take Joe Burrow, and it just clicked with him. He was a nobody at Ohio State. He was a nobody like the first year at LSU, and then all of a sudden he got them boys around him, and he was the man.
Yep.
I mean, he timed it out, picked the right spot. It's just like I said, it's one of those things now. Like the transfer portal, is you look, you see, you can kind of get that experience, that college experience, and you can look like, all right, this is not working here. Where can I go? I mean, you can take
the party atmosphere I wanted.
Yeah. What's God dog Fields? He was at Georgia.
Yeah.
Like you was gonna play in the national championship. Well, you was there. They didn't put you in. That was stupid on his part, Kirby Smart. But he went to Ohio State. I mean, that's like you're gonna find places where you're gonna look at the receiver core. If you're a quarterback, you'll look at the people around you and say, "Hey, me going here, guess what? This will give me an opportunity to play professional."
I tell you what, this may be far stretch. This may be far stretch, but with the current situation, you think we will see a player in college win the Heisman Trophy with two different schools in 1 year? Look at Bryce. He could transfer right now, go to USC, go back home.
He could.
That would be wild.
That would be wild. He ain't gonna miss out on that Bama money.
Hey, that's downtown LA. Downtown LA and Alabama money, totally different.
He's making a meal.
He can make more than that in downtown LA.
No, he definitely can with Hollywood and everything around him with just the stars around him that will want to use him for branding. There's so many opportunities down there. But, to answer your question, Dre, if it does, I think it end up being like a defensive caliber player that does it. I think that the look, like we were talking about the other day, when's the last person to do it on the defensive end?
Charles.
All right. And he did it. He played two sides of the ball. He was one of the most, as far as popularity, he was there. And, when you talk about USC, because when you talk about Alabama is football. Alabama, that's what Alabama, the state of Alabama is football. So when you talk about California, there's so many other things that go on in California. There's so many other reasons of popularity and eyes to be in California already. So I think, to answer your question for something like that, I think it would be a defensive guy, and I think it would be a popularity contest, as far as he winning a popularity contest before he even got to Cali. You know what I mean? And then correct. So I think it'd be something like that. I think going back like a Cam, a Jameis Winston, a Tim Tebow, those type of atmospheres that they built around their name. I think something like that. If so, we had a guy like that come in and didn't decide for whatever reason he wanted to transfer, we could see it.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
But I mean, looking at our quarterback right now, look at the quarterback play. Baker was a transfer. Kyler was a transfer. Jalen was a transfer. Joe Burrow was a transfer. Man, now that you brought it up, Victor, I mean, shoot, the last 10 years, we got a whole bunch of damn transfers.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's all the
kids know about something coming way before we even know about it. They know about it way before this coach leaving, the offensive coordinator, the strength and conditioning coach leaving. What? I've been knowing coach. I was 5. I'm going wherever he going. All that is starting to come back into play again.
Yeah. Well, we got Dre on here. Since he's a Florida Gator fan, I want his perspective on his new head coach and the transfer of Copeland out of Florida too.
Well, being a Florida football Gator fan, I kind of saw this coming after the Alabama game with the inconsistency on the play calling, and the team looked like a top 12 Pop Warner team at times this year, and plus the behind the scenes that was going on. But I didn't see the hire coming this fast. That's the only thing that pissed me off. I like to do my homework on coaches. I got to find your skills, your weakness, your attributes, what you bring to the table, what gets you off, so to speak. I understand what he did with the Cajuns. I get all that. That's fine and dandy, but this is a different pill to swallow here. You can't just say you're leaving this school to go to this school, and that school happens to be Notre Dame. You're leaving this school, and this school happens to be USC, Texas, or Florida. That's a different type of attitude to handle. I don't agree with the fast hire. I get it. It's a household name in the South. I get it. There's a relationship built with this kid already before him getting to Florida. But I need to see these people skills. I need to see, can we handle the transfers that have already committed to come there before the firing? And now we've lost 4, I believe. We've lost 4 players in the top 250 that were coming there. Yeah. I don't know if it's due to Dan. I don't know if it's due to they don't like the coach or another player left. That's still things out there in the building. I understand the hire. I didn't like the fact that it moved so fast. That was way too fast for hire for me. That's the SEC. We're not the Pac-12. We're not the Big Ten. We're not the ACC. This is where people understand the implications of getting paid on Sunday could mean to this household. And I don't think that we did the right thing when it comes to these kids' future. We should have taken our time, took like 4 weeks to do our homework over the Christmas break and make a decision in 2022. We should have done that.
Yeah.
On your thought right there too is that LSU didn't have a coach at the time, and I think Florida's thinking was if Riley didn't go to LSU, that Napier was going to be taken at the time, and I think that's why Florida swept in and got him because of the way Lincoln Riley spun LSU.
You know, when the whole news of Lincoln Riley broke, everyone wanted to badmouth this dude. But 72 hours later, everybody in this entire sports world was like, hey, you know what? That's not a bad move. This is going to help catapult the game on the left coast because the left coast needs it more than anything. They need some help to push the game. I don't care how you feel about sports on the left coast. When it comes to college football, that coast is needed to be competitive, competing in games they have not been for quite some time. So college football kind of, as bad as it may seem for the OK fan out there, in all actuality, this was a smart move by Lincoln Riley and for college football moving forward. They needed this. The left coast needed it bad, man, bad. And they got the right guy to me. But when it broke, when the story first broke, I mean, everybody was just it was too funny.
Not me. I was like,
it was probably less than a handful of people that saw that like, damn, that's a smart move. That's a smart move. I just want to know how his agent pulled that pimp ass game off. I want you to buy both of my house for $500,000. You're gonna give me a house for $6 million. And you can't tell anybody how much you pay me. You can tell them the bottom line, but not my actual value because we're a private institution.
And I can use the jet with the family. And take
and I got 50 private hours in the jet a year. 2 cars. Like they buy him an extra garage for the extra car. They buy him a house.
Look, we all need to become college football coaches. Let's just put our bid in right now to go coach any damn body.
Look, at this point, we just could come together as a team.
Yeah,
and one of us gonna get coaching, and we'll just share the rest of the shit.
but then I think that's one of the things that agent did. He did a great job because after that game against Oklahoma State, everybody said he was going to LSU. Everybody was talking about he's going to LSU. Lincoln Riley's going to LSU. So he just probably put that out there and was like, hey, we got LSU looking at us. We can stay back at the crib if we want to. So, hey, he probably lied and say, hey, this is what LSU's offering.
A house, 2 cars.
That ain't nothing. LA gives me all this.
Hey, they said he said we got frequent flyer miles. They said, you know what? We're just gonna
my wife can go to the beach every day out here. Every day she can go to the beach. Where's the beach at down there?
Yeah, no, and but that's
I'm not going to the Bayou Beach. No.
but that's how he was. That's how he probably sold it. He was like, "Look, this is what they offered me. This is what they gave me. This, and that. But guess what? If you offer, how can you beat this offer?" And of course, USC was like, "Well, shoot, because it ain't about the beach. It's about that money." And then now, if you even match it or go above it, then guess what happens? Now we'll take that because we got the beach.
Yeah, see, if I was Lincoln,
he got it all out there now, man. Got it all.
Yeah, if I was Lincoln, I definitely would have arrived in a helicopter. Like, yeah,
but he can
I
get
think
any
that's
player he
crazy.
wants now. He can get any player he wants now. He
Yeah,
already
he
has
does.
a connection.
Oh yeah,
He got the
But
connection with the high school kid in a way that nobody thought a high school connection could be. But that's real key, because if you look at, Alabama, Nick Saban is Nick Saban. We get all that.
Mm-hmm.
There's some coaches, they're not going to change their method of madness. It's going to be kind of old school to some.
Mm-hmm.
But these new coaches that understand the social media swag and can relate these kids and bring these connecting pieces together, I can see a plus sign for this. And Lincoln Riley has that connection that a majority of the coaches don't have or understand or willing to understand with today's kids and the terminology that they're using. So that's an advantage.
Keep an eye out for Deion.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out for Deion, man. I really think Deion Sanders.
That bowl game going to be key for him.
Well, I think regardless of what happens in a bowl game, he made a huge statement this year. I think in the next 5 years,
56,000 people went to an HBCU game.
Exactly.
That's unheard of.
You see Grambling just got
Don't say it. Please don't say it. I just can't. I can't believe them kids doing that to themselves down there. This is not a good hire. I don't like.
You don't like
hire.
Hugh? You don't like Hugh Jackson?
No. Not
why?
For his coaching football. Coaching the game of football, Hugh hasn't shown me nothing. Nothing.
Okay, I can give you that. But
nothing
as far as
and this
so you're talking in a winning. You're talking about in a winning mindset.
Period.
I think it's great for the program.
Please enlighten me. I'm listening.
So, I mean, Hugh Jackson, he took his little journey before he came to the NFL. He went through the ASUs. He's had the tree as far as the coaching tree of having that experience and rubbing shoulders with the right individuals. I think Grambling is doing this to stay on par with the Deion Sanders, headlines. The thing right now is they're seeing an HBCU with a former NFL player. Okay. We can't just go out and get a former NFL player right now. I mean, there's not one that we see. So let's do the next best thing is to get a former NFL head coach. So now when you do, you want to know something, Dre? When we talked about, you brought it up, social media. When they go type in HBCU NFL, right now, only thing that pops up is Jackson State. But when they do when they go do it after this signing, they go type in HBCU NFL, it's going to pop up both Jackson State and Grambling because Grambling does have Hugh Jackson. And that's going to bring a little bit more eyes to Grambling.
Eddie George. Yeah.
But these things are going to increase it. It's going to keep on rising. And maybe these HBCUs are competing, and falling in that top 25 category and competing now.
I mean, it's such a prestigious university at Grambling. It's going from Eddie George. And,
yes, it is.
I mean, I'm sorry, Eddie Robinson, and bringing in my man Doug Williams to try to salvage the program. Yes, and then you had a few other guys come in there and try to do some things. But then the financial situation hit the HBCUs about a decade and a half ago, and it's been revitalized now with social media and former NFL players. And now you're getting these names to be associated with these HBCU. I think there's 4 HBCU coaching vacancies right now, and they're out there looking for the big name as well as Grambling is. I didn't see Hugh Jackson and Grambling in the same recipe. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I didn't see that as a positive for them.
Because there wasn't nothing leading up to it.
To get the job. Get the job you want to do the job.
Right. Because there was no leading up to it. It didn't look like they did any investigating or researching into whom they wanted. They just went out and got the first big name that was available and accepted it. I agree with that part. I do.
I mean, because dealing with in HBCUs, you're not just a football coach. As Deion and Eddie George have told us, you're a counselor, you're a dad, you're an uncle, you're a grandpa, you're the neighbor. You're the man for everything. And what these kids are going through now in college is not what they went through in the 90s and 80s and 70s. This is a whole new breeder of animals out there right now. So that's another thing. In the South, that just have college football, that's their NFL. That's their Major League. That's their NBA. That's their hockey. They all vested in. So you got to be on point with the full understanding of the many roles the Swiss Army knife you got to play as a coach in HBCU. It's not the norm. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but you got to be just wrong.
You got to be tough skin. Got to have that alligator skin, man.
So they dealing with things that the Deons, Eddie Georges, and the Hughes haven't dealt with in a long time. When it comes to hardship and how you going to handle that talk and get that kid to put all that in the back, but stick it out here and play ball and practice for you. That's hard, man. That's hard.
It is, but you got the right people. You picked the right, people to be that guy. I mean, Deion can talk about a lot. And that's another thing. This is off the topic, in a sense, but a guy like Des Bryant, I think would be really, really, really good for a lot of these programs for these youngsters. I mean, Des is the epitome of overcoming. I mean, he had his mom after he got drafted. I mean, there were so many different things and different levels that Des went through. And he's a good story as well. So I look at the Deons, I look at the Eddie Georges, I look at these guys, and our HBCUs are in desperate need of these type of things.
Yes, they are. Yes, that's a good point. Yes, they are.
Go ahead, Ray. I know you wanted to talk about the Heisman a little bit.
Yeah, the Heisman is interesting this year. I mean, you got three quarterbacks. You got Bryce Young, you got Kenny Pickett, you got C.J. Stroud, and then you got a defensive end and Aiden Hutchinson. So now we know the quarterback's getting the most barometer of reviews in college football. Now, we talking about Woodson is the last defensive guy to win it. I mean, he played two sides of the ball. He played the special teams and he played in defensive thing. Do any of y'all give Adrian Hutchinson a chance to win the Heisman this year?
Yeah, I give him a good shot to win the Heisman. I love to see a defensive player, man, impact the game like Aiden Hutchinson. He's the type of player that I love. They got great energy. Can get to the quarterback. Again, he took over that Ohio State game. He made a great impact against Iowa, and I love to see a defensive. Guy get it and that's making an impact. That's out there playing. That's pretty much unblockable. He's gonna make a big difference in the NFL. He's the type of guy that can come out right away and just make a value impact to a team to a team he goes on. So I'll say that is my surprise Heisman winner, man. Aiden Hutchinson, man. I think he's got a shot. I love Aiden Hutchinson, man. I think he's gonna come in the NFL. He's one of those type of players that can produce right away for a team.
What do you think about Dre?
Coach. That was a really good point. This Heisman class is not Heisman to me. Heisman should be that wow, you making that phone call, saying things you shouldn't have said to another grown person about a college football player, doing plays in a highlight reel. I haven't seen that. All these guys in this Heisman class are good football players, very good football players. If this kid Hutchinson wins the Heisman Trophy, you talking about a shocker. That would be the most shocking thing ever, because right now all hands are pointing to Bryce Young to win this thing. But I like the lights on the defensive spectrum in college football. It's starting to get back there. It really is. It was some great defensive play this year. And you're right. He definitely took over that Ohio State game. Definitely took it over. Because he played like a manchild.com in that game. It's like that was his coming out party in more ways than one for the defensive-minded player in college football.
So, what's your take on it, Coach Ben, about the Heisman, about the defensive player? Only one defensive player and three quarterbacks in the Heisman. You got Bryce Young, you got Hutchinson, you got Pickett, and C.J. Stroud. And is a disadvantage for the defensive guy to get? He's the only one between all these quarterbacks.
No, I think the good thing about it is he probably has a great opportunity because they played the Ohio State game. That was the late game. So, and all of these guys, I think they're in the East Coast. So the West Coast is going to be really who's pulling. But Young's probably going to win it because he's a California guy. And if you really, and one thing about the Michigan guy, you hear a little bit about him, but it was more so when you talk about it, it was Georgia defense. It was Georgia this, Georgia how phenomenal they are. Georgia did this. And then now you see Bryce Young the week before made the touchdown throws to win the Iron Bowl. Then he backdoored and blew out Georgia, running around, scrambling from that defense and put up 40-some plus points. I mean, that's probably what's going to really top him over. Again, like I said, he's been a West Coast guy. He's going to get the West Coast vote.
True.
Good point.
How about Kenny Pickett? I mean, 4 years at Pitt. His career has been, going from mediocre all the way up to where he's at now. Does he have a legit shot at winning?
I say no, not at all. But he has done a lot for his stock value for Sunday.
What you had said? What was the question?
The question is by Kenny Pickett. His 4 years at Pitt. I mean, he went from mediocre up to a superstar this year. His progression came along pretty good, steady pace as you see a college freshman start off, and now he's a senior. Does he have a good chance of winning the Heisman?
Yeah, I think Kenny Pickett, with his stats and numbers, he has a great chance of definitely winning that Heisman Trophy. I think he does have a great chance. But the problem that I heard about, like Kenny Pickett, he has trouble reading defenses a little bit. He has trouble reading them a little bit, even in college. But I think it's a legit chance that he can win it. I mean, you're gonna always grant a quarterback over a defensive player, but again, I'm tired of seeing defensive players that work their butts off. Not getting like any credit, man. I mean, I think Aiden Hutchinson definitely deserves some foe, man, because again, he took over that. His coming out party was definitely the Ohio State game. His coming out party was definitely that game, man. He wrecked the line of scrimmage, the offensive line of scrimmage. They just didn't have no idea how to block him. They had no idea how to block him at all. They tried whatever they tried. They even tried to hurry up offense, which was, I thought that was working. And they had Michigan defense off balance, and they stopped going to it. But Aiden Hutchinson, every time they needed a big play, he did momentum. Buckeyes, and he just made C.J. Stroud life hell. He just made this game hell.
Yeah, I look at it this way too. And if you watch the Georgia and Alabama game, and what the announcer said after the Alabama Georgia game was, Bryce Young is going to be the Heisman Trophy winner. Is that a fair statement that you just see one game and he came out of that just one game? I mean, he did it all season long, but I mean, the Texas A&M game, he was pretty good, but they lost to a Texas A&M team that was not ranked at the time they played them. But then you got this one game he played against Georgia, and all of a sudden he's the Heisman. I thought a Heisman was just the body of work that is supposed to be done in college football, not just one game award.
That's a damn good point. Way to break down the definition of the Heisman. And Heisman to me means he is man. And this year I didn't see he is man, but that game against Georgia, the way he played, I just want to give Kirby Smart all the credit in the world because he gave him the Heisman Trophy in that game. He gave him the Heisman Trophy. He definitely did. But he's going to win the Heisman Trophy. Would love to see a defensive guy, but I don't think it's going to be this year. And with the attention then on defensive, offensive linemen, I think the next 2 to 4 years, I don't think a quarterback is going to be in the conversation of a Heisman for a while.
But yeah, you say that, I mean, if you look at the Heisman Trophy, there's only been a few defensive players that win the Heisman Trophy out of all of them. I mean, it's always been a quarterback, wide receiver, running back. I mean,
But on the other side, though, what is the defensive award that is like the Heisman? Is that the Bronco Nagurski Award?
I'm not sure.
The version, the highest defensive award. I think that kid Hutchinson got that award. I would be happy with that. Because I think the Bronco Nagurski Award is the top defensive award you can get. And if that's true and he got that, okay. Because he got the top award you can get as a quarterback, that goes in line with the Heisman. And that's what Bryce Young got the other night. He got the top award for the quarterback. You can't follow that up by not winning the Heisman.
Yeah, the Bronco Nagurski Trophy is the highest for defensive lineman.
Yep. So there it is. And I think he got that the other night.
Yeah.
To win both, that's tough. You win both of them. You win the Bronco and the Heisman. That's good shit.
Yeah, if you look at the batting line for this, Bryce Young is at a minus 3,000. Aiden Hutchinson is at a plus 2,000. Kenny Pickett is at plus 2,500, and then C.J. Stroud is at a plus 3,000. The betting odds. So I mean, somebody's taking that bet at a plus 2,000.
Heck yeah, somebody's going to take that bet. There's always somebody taking those bets. Like, who's going to take that? There's a guy that's going to take that bet.
Yeah. This will be a good time to take a break. We're going to go ahead and take a break right here. And then after these words, we'll get back into it. We're going to break down the Army-Navy game. And we're going to ask Dre what's so special about the Army-Navy game in his perspective, since we are Navy veterans here. We're going to talk about the Navy aspects. Well, I'd like to get some of the Army aspects here too, but some of my Army friends don't want to play
They
the
stole
game.
the wrong damn goat, idiots.
So we'll be right back. This is the All Sports, All Plays College Breakdown Show. I'm Ray, Coach Dante, and Dre. We'll be right back.
This is the Fox D Streaming Network. Register to come on our channel at foxdnetwork.com.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
What did you say?
I said Kobe Bean Bryant has been overrated ever since he passed away. Nah, I'd say they could lose by 4, but I don't see them losing 5. You know what I mean?
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
Welcome back to the All Sports, All Plays Network College Breakdown Show. I'm Ray Cruz. I got Dre and I got Coach Dante. We're going to break down this Army-Navy game. This game is at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. It's at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. The game is going to be on CBS, as always on CBS. Army comes in at 8-3. Navy comes in at 3-8. So we know the records go out of the windows when these rivalries meet up. This is the pageantry, the midshipmen and the cadets get on the field, line up the 50-yard line all the way up there, march off, and then you got the president of the United States usually shows up, and if he stays through the whole game, he goes out and at halftime he walks across the 50 to the other side. So, Dre, since you're a Navy veteran, what does this Army-Navy game means to you?
Man, as a service member, I know the game itself to a lot of people is like old school football. They do the same thing. It's boring. There's no excitement. To me, it's more than that. It's hearing their stories on why they chose these particular schools to go to and what's their why factor and what's the next step they're going to. I love hearing that. And I just love the way the game is presented. I wish the Army-Navy game could travel to different parts so everyone could experience it. But in a way, I kind of like that it has a home base to go to. I've never been to one. I plan on going next year for sure. For my 52nd birthday, I'm going to that game next year. But the Army-Navy game, and after being stationed in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, and working with the Arizona Memorial Foundation doing that work, it just brings so many levels of respect to me. It's probably the only time of the year I really clap for another branch other than the Navy.
Yeah. I mean, now let's talk about it because we're active duty. We didn't go to university. We didn't go to the Naval Academy.
No.
We were active duty. What does it mean for the fleet out in active duty when this game comes on?
I've watched it when I was stationed in Hawaii. I watched it with a bunch of servicemen all the time. And it's like when you're a grown man in your 50s and your high school wins state, you still have a connection with that because you went there. You're not there now. And when that Navy gets out, these college kids get out there and play the midshipmen, we feel like we're there with them. I don't know if you felt that way. I feel like a connection with those kids. That's what it means to the guys in the fleet to me. It's like we had a morale victory. We had a team victory. We all feel it when they play, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah. So, Dante, what is your experience? Do you watch the Army-Navy game? And what is your experience on the Army-Navy game?
I really don't pay too much attention to the Army Navy game like that. I just know Navy is a good football team, man. I just know Navy is a good football team by me watching them play, used to playing against the Houston Cougars. I just know they're a good physical football team, and they love to run the football. They just love to run the football and stuff like that, ground and pound. So again, I like Navy in this game. I like Navy in this game. I think this Navy is gonna win this game. And Navy was a top 25 school at one point, man. So again, man, I love Navy in this game. I love the way they run the football. That option offense is a little tough. It's a little tough to stop. And I got Navy, man. I know them because they're very competitive against U of H and other teams as well. So I definitely got Navy in this game, winning this game.
Yeah, I look at it this way, and I'm gonna take a little bit deeper in perspective here.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
I grew up. My dad was in the Army. I grew up watching the Army-Navy game, and from that standpoint, my dad was always says, Army is this, Army that, and back in the day when Napoleon McCallison was playing, Army were really did Navy in wrong. I always rooted for Navy because I always wanted to be against my dad. And so this started back before I even joined the military. I mean, the last game of the football season we watched was the Army-Navy game. And we sit there and watch it. And he tells me all the different stories about how the Army bases back in the day when he was there, that they decorated the galley, the place they ate in the mess hall. They decorated with Navy, and they played darts with the Navy's head coach at the time of whoever's the head coach. and they were playing darts, and they tried to pick out the different areas where they could hit them and really take it. And then taking another step further than that was when I joined the Navy. I joined the Navy, and then after I got out of boot camp, by the time I got to A school was the Army Navy game. They literally stopped everything on this base for the Army Navy game, and they brought in the Army students, from different places onto the thing. We did all kinds of stuff. We played war games and stuff like that before the game, and and the stuff like that. And you see, as it go, I got buddies who are Army, and we always fight on Facebook. They go Army, beat Navy. We go the same different direction. We bring up some kind of videos and stuff like that. But the good thing about watching the game is it's watching the commercials, watching the people from different places, from the Army, getting their camaraderie on with the active duty. This extends not just as the people going there; it extends all the way active duty. Even though you're not a fan of these teams, but as a sense of the service week comes in and this game is played, it's not as big as with the Air Force, but it's bigger with the Navy and the Army because it's just the pageantry, the way they present the game, the way they talk about the game and stuff like that. But I mean, this game right here, it goes back to old school football, like Dre said. It goes back to me because I like it because I played on an option football team. Our high school football team was an option football team, and I really liked the option. I mean, back in the day, you run the wishbone, the flex. I mean, teams don't know which one you're going to get the ball when you line up in that wishbone. Either the fullback is going to get it, one of the running backs is going to get it, or the other running back gets it. And then we had a coach who came in, and he was on the Army staff. And he introduced, and then went to Citadel. He introduced what you call an option reverse, where they had a wide receiver run between the running backs and the quarterback, and you don't know who. Sometimes they pitch the ball to the wide receiver, he'll grab it, or sometimes the wide receiver fake, he grabs it and goes right through his arms to the running back. I mean, there was some cool plays. That was some cool plays in the time, but people think the Army Navy game is boring because of the options and stuff like that. But I like the way CBS brings the telecast in, brings the people in. They talk about the history of their what they're going to be doing. These schools can't recruit like other colleges.
No.
To get into these service academies, you got to have 2 or 3 letters from Congress.
Yeah, you got to have some backing.
you got to have some Congress. You got to have some military members, or if you had a relative to write a letter to an admiral, you got to have all these commendations, and generals and admirals got to have. You got to have a good SAT scores. You don't take a bare minimum, but you got to break down these stuff. So, I mean, the Army Navy game has been tradition like no other. Besides that. But today's game, Army looks like a better team than Navy with the records. Navy's had a little bit of inconsistency on the offense. Their option is not really effectively being run correctly. They did have some good games and some bad games. And this game is, like I said, you throw the records out. And we know the success with Navy and Army in the last few years. I mean, Navy has won a couple and Army won a couple times. So, I mean, what do we see today, Dre? Do we see an Army team that is going to come out better against the Navy, or are we going to see the Navy punch the Army right in the mouth where they can't recover?
That's a good point you made, Ray, because Army is definitely on paper this year and a much better team than Navy has in years past. But Navy seems to always show up and slow down Army a little bit, and vice versa. Army can slow down Navy because when it comes to this matchup, the coaches know each other very well. The coaching tendencies do not change no matter what. They're like stubborn old men. They're not going to change whatsoever. But if Army comes out throwing the ball like they've done a few times this year, that could be pretty bad for Navy. They're not equipped to cover the passing game. But if they come out just running the ball, I think Navy can hang in there. But I see a very, very low-scoring safety involved in field goal kicking game, something like 13-9 in this situation. But I'm going with Navy no matter what. But I'm just a little bit on the if Army comes out and attack the passing game of this game today.
Yeah, and you look at this thing too, Army has got to go play. They're playing in the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl after this game is over. They're going to play against Missouri. Navy does done. Now, Navy feel like this is their bowl game.
That's right.
Now, do we see motivation out of Navy, coach, to come in there and really sink out to destroy the Army?
I want to know who we're bringing in to do the special team speech.
I think anytime in this type of a game, like a rivalry game, you're going to always probably see motivation out of a team. It's kind of like bragging rights when these two teams play. So you're going to always see the kind of motivation. I don't think Navy is going to come in here and just lay down because the Army is 3-8. Navy is 3-8. I don't see them coming in and laying down against this team. So I think it's going to be a tough ball game, like Dre said. I think it's going to be, I got it kind of like 17-10. I think it's going to be definitely a low scoring game, but I'm going for the upset right here. I'm going for Navy. I'm going for Navy to win.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it too, if you look at us Navy guys, I mean, me and Dre, I served for 20 years. Dre served, you retired, didn't you, Dre?
No, I did not retire. I 89, 97. Did not retire.
I did.
The way I should have retired.
Yeah, I went in 1992 and I retired in 2012.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up.
And I'm gonna tell you, the 2007, 2008 Army Navy game was special to me because I was in Afghanistan.
And I saw the video footage they showed. I watched. Yeah, that was. Yeah. I like when they show the servicemen and women watching the game.
We watched the game. We watched the game. And, on the base, we had a lot of Army guys, and we were all mixed with Army, Marines, Air Force. And, we had the Marines because they went to, the Marines go to our Naval Academy and stuff like that, stuff. So, I mean, we had the Marines on our side, and the Army had Air Force on their side. I don't know why the Air Force was on their side, but anyway, so we all did that, and we all made bets at this game. We had the general betting us, he said if the Navy did pull out the victory, that he will come out and dress in a Navy uniform that one of the admirals will bring in, that are brought to the thing for this one reason only. Navy actually won that game. The general had to dress up in an admiral's uniform, come and parade in front of all his troops, and then turn around, made the Army people turn around and bow down to the Navy guys. And it was so fun. And one of my buddies got killed over there, and they had to, the fallen boots place and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And we all marched over there after the game, and we presented the colors for all the Army and the Navy and the Marines and the Air Force guys. And it was just special. It was just a special moment over there at that time. And
that's the thing that a lot of people don't really understand, the competitive nature of the four branches of service with one another, but we all still family on the other side too as well. Yeah. But the competitive nature of all four branches is so much fun, from the intramural side to playing out war games to whatever it may be, when you have to tag a winner. It is so much fun with the service branches. So much fun.
And if you look at this stuff, let's see here with Joel. Hey guys, hey coach. How you doing, Joel? The pageantry of this football game and the way they bring it and the way they present this game on TV, and all the technology, people sending in the videos and they put it together, or the montage and stuff like that, from like go Army, go Navy, beat Army, beat Navy. And then the people on Facebook, you see it all the time on Facebook. You see if you're in a group, I got friends, and like I said, we probably got friends in the Army, Air Force, and Marine, and they're all going around and throwing pictures on people. And I mean, it's just the camaraderie. It's just and I'm gonna tell you, one other special place was when I was stationed at Uniformed Service University. It's an Army, Air Force, Navy nursing school where they get their doctors and degrees and want to become nurses and stuff. Uh-huh. And we put the whole school together. We had all these Army, Navy things going around the whole entire cafeteria. We had the dean that was at the school come out and say, hey, look, if Navy wins, Navy people get the day off. Army wins. Army people get the day off, and then they had the Air Force chime in and say, "How about the Air Force?" He said, "Whatever side you join, whatever." And he said, "Whatever you decide you join, that's the side you take." But it was all funny. It was all fun and games. And we before leading up to that week of the games, we played war games, and we had Navy against the Army. We had Air Force joining in. We had all kinds of stuff going on. And I mean, we did it for the Air Force and Navy game, the Air Force Army game too. We did the special for the Air Force. I mean, we didn't want to leave them out too. So, but I mean,
when you get a day off in the military, people don't understand that in the civilian world. When they tell you, "Hey, you get the day off tomorrow," that's huge. That's like when NFL players, coaches tell, "Hey, you get the day off tomorrow." They lose their mind. People don't understand what a day off means.
Yeah,
that was key when the Navy won and we got the day off. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I mean, to me, I go back all the way back to the '80s when the Army Navy game. I mean, even before I even joined the military, because that's what my dad and all of us we always thought about the service member. Our allegiance was to the military. Back before I even went to school and got into it, and my mom took me to. And actually, my mom took me to the recruiting office to get me into the Navy. So
did Coach Dante serve at all?
I don't know. Hey, Coach, did you serve?
No, sir. I never went to the Navy or Army. I was always built around coaching basketball and football. So, no, I never went to the Army or nothing like that.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at this game in here, it's not. I mean, I don't know. Did Air Force beat Army this year?
No, I think Army won that game. I think that's why Army is coming in so good.
Yeah.
It's one of their best years coming into this matchup, I do believe. And they got that passing game is the one thing I'm worried about. They got a pretty nice little passing game that they improved upon after week 4.
Yeah, so if Army wins this game, they win the Commanders and Chiefs Cup. Because they beat Air Force 21-14. And I think the Navy lost to Air Force.
Yes. That was what they were playing for something. What was that they played for, the Army Navy?
Well, this is all tied into the Commanders Cup. So,
but it was something else that was on the line when Air Force won that game. Something else happened, and they mentioned something that Air Force did when they beat us.
Yeah, the Air Force is
something I heard. I was like, I never heard of that before. It was something that Air Force won when they beat us. They mentioned something. But anyway, I don't want to get shut out today. For one, I do not want to get shut out today.
Yeah, we didn't get shut out last time, so we didn't get shut out against the Air Force. We did score 3 points.
The year it snowed in the white uniforms, nobody could find the ball, was hilarious. Was hilarious.
Yeah, what's the forecast for today?
That's what I was about to check out right now and see, because
the last few times it was snowing.
What's that?
The last few times it was snowing.
Yeah.
It's going to be 52 degrees today.
Okay, I could take that. I could deal with that.
And rain.
Oh, see. Oh, we running the ball. We're going to have Patriot football style in college football today.
Yeah, it's supposed to rain up there. That's what he said at 12 o'clock. Have you ever been to the
Army-Navy game, Ray?
Huh?
Have you ever been to the Army-Navy game?
Been 3 times. I went to one.
You should write a book. That is awesome.
I went to one at Veteran Stadium when Philadelphia when they played in the Vet, and then when they changed it over to Lincoln Field, I went to that one.
Were you at the game when the stage fell?
No. I went to the one at the old Giant Stadium.
That's right. They bought a ship in for that game, didn't they? If I remember correctly, they brought an aircraft carrier in, didn't they?
Yeah. I was at that game, and then I was at the one they played at when they played in Raven Stadium that one year.
I still think it'd be pretty cool if people had a chance to, if the Army-Navy game traveled to different cities. I think that'd be pretty damn cool too, man. To let people experience it from different levels. If it goes down to Florida, if it comes to St. Louis, if it goes to Charlotte, North Carolina, things like that. I think that'd be pretty cool if it went to different cities. That way, a whole lot more people get a chance to experience. And then here's something else I noticed. Every time I see that game on television, I never see people in civilian clothes. It's always people in uniforms. Where are the normal people at the damn game? Where they sit at?
They put them in the top section.
Oh.
They put them in the nosebleed section.
So wait a minute. When I go to that game next year, I got to sit way the hell up there?
No, if you former military, you should be able to get the down below thing.
Where we
It all
going
depends.
next
It all depends on. It all depends on the requirements and how many people they got going to the game and stuff like that. But the people that didn't serve, they normally sit up in the top section of the nosebleed section.
I'm gonna look for that today because I've never seen people in civilian clothes in the stands. It's always the people in uniforms.
I mean, CBS does a really good job. They only show a certain section where they got the military, where they got the cadets in and stuff like that, and then sometimes they'll do a long pan out. But there are some people that sit in civilian clothes down below section, but most of them are retired military.
I tell you one thing. I think this is the first year ever that Army and Navy highest top kids are both African American.
Yep.
There's a female for the Navy, and I think it's a male for the Army, if I'm right on that.
I think
so. But I know both. It's something rare happening with the top students at those institutions. I think they're both African Americans, though. I think that's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, we had a guy here. His daughter wants to go to the Naval Academy, and he had to send out letters. He sent a letter out, a recommendation from the Admiral at Commonwealth Fleet here in Florida. He got a letter from them. Then he sent it to the congressman, the senators here in Florida, and then he also got a recommendation at the time from the last vice president Pence. He actually wrote a letter for her, and she got accepted into the Naval Academy.
That's awesome. And I think, was that last year that Navy kid was trying to get petition to forego his service to go into the NFL draft, but he got denied because the kid was that talented to go into the NFL.
Yeah, you talking about Perry, the quarterback.
Yeah, man. That kid was good. That kid was real damn good. Real good.
Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of famous people like David Robinson served. You got the Dallas one of the Dallas quarterback, Starbuck. He played football for him.
Roger
so,
the
I mean,
Dodger.
If you look at So, out of all the bowl games between y'all two, which bowl games are y'all interested in watching this year?
Oh man, where do I begin?
I'm always interested in watching the Rose Bowl. I'm always interested in watching that bowl game. That's always a fun ball game every single year. I just can't wait to see it. It reminds me of Texas and Michigan, those back in the days, man. But I love to watch the Rose Bowl. So I think the Rose Bowl is going to be has a chance to be pretty decent. That's a game I'm always looking for each and every year.
Coach, you probably don't remember this. You're probably too young to remember this. But at one time, all of these bowl games were played on one day. On one day, all of these games were played. They used to make New Year's Day so much fun. But now they're all spread out. We get kind of a football junkie mix going on. I mean, for one, I like these crazy matchups because that's where we get our NFL teams to see those third rounders, that surprise fifth round draft pick, the kids we normally don't get a chance to see play, but we've heard the name. I keep hearing this kid name. Now I want to watch this school. So that's why I like the bowl season. But for the ones I'm looking forward to seeing, there's not one that I could just point out over the other because I like all the bowl matchups. Now, 4 years ago, I hated it. I hated all these dumbass games. But now I'm understanding what's going on and why they're doing it this way. So I kind of give them all a shot.
Yeah, I look at it this way too. The bowl game I want to go see, or really want to see, I know I'm biased because I'm a North Carolina fan, but it's North Carolina versus South Carolina because of the history between the two schools. Used to be really bad tensions between the two schools. It was the battle of the used to be called the Battle of the Carolinas. So I mean that's one game, but also the game that is most interesting is due to the fact that a report just came out that a company, whoever wins the MVP of that bowl game, is going to get an NIL worth over almost $1 million. They're going to pay the kid, whoever's the MVP of that bowl game, almost $1 million.
I mean, a lot of these kids, we have the young lady, she got a $2 million deal. I think she's a basketball player for Oregon or Baylor. This NIL money has gotten really interesting. I'm telling you, look at the Grand Canyon University, man. The way they have done the NIL. This has really helped the boosters in a way that I didn't see coming. But so far, the stories that have been coming out have been pretty damn good. Nobody has taken advantage of the situation, because that was one of the things we talked about earlier in the year, Ray, about this being taken advantage of. And now, I would like to commend the people that are making sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed and understand the financial situation with the kids for as legally as well as the college institution and moving forward trying to get paid by a sports team has been going. But yeah, the reward for these bowl games that the NIL is going to provide for these kids is pretty good.
Yeah, I look at it too, Coach. Texas is one of the richest universities. I'm surprised they haven't made any big splash in this NIL yet.
They don't have the right mouthpiece. If you have the right mouthpiece affiliated with Texas, then it's going to change. But right now, with all this shifting and transferring and coaches, once it all gets done, I say probably February, March, we're going to really see a boost in the NIL conversation on the football ramifications of this.
Yeah, and Coach, you're a Texas fan. Why hasn't Texas jumped in this NIL? Because they got one of the richest boosters in college football.
I don't know why they haven't dropped in it. They've been Texas has been so bad for a couple of years. So again, that's another possibility factor. But when you're winning, when you're not winning, nothing as good is going for you. When you're not winning, and again, I mean that's why they haven't got too many boosters. As like you said, man, I say this team is a goddamn dumpster fire. Steve Sarkisian, I mean. We lost so many games after halftime. We lost so many games after that. I mean, what more could go wrong? On defense, offense staggers in the second half. They do great in the first half, but they stagger after the second half. They come out flat all the time. They did that against Oklahoma. The very next week, Oklahoma State, they lost. They was up 21-7. They come back, they lose that game after halftime. It just been a straight dumpster fire and a straight mess. And I don't think Steve Sarkisian is a successful head coach in college. I think he's a coordinator now. I think he's a coordinator, but not a head coach. I don't think he's a head coach. I just think he's an offensive coordinator, not a head coach.
That's a good point there, Coach.
And if you look at it too, in Texas, and when Matt Brown was there, the key, and he used that same key here in North Carolina, is that you got to keep the recruits in your home state, and that's what Texas has not done in a while since Matt Brown left. Is keep the Texas kids in the state to go to Texas. So I mean, what kind of coach will Texas need to bring in there? Will it need to bring a guy who is from Texas to share up that recruiting basis? How does Texas keep getting the Texas recruit to stay in state?
I think they just need to probably get a coach that's probably from the area that they familiar with. Again, reason why we was getting all these top recruits. I mean, Houston is one of the underrated cities. They got great talent in the city of Texas, in the city of Houston and stuff. And that's what Mac Brown mostly recruited at. Vince Young came from Houston, Madison High School. And look what he turned into. He became a Texas football legend. So again, I think they just need to get someone that's familiar with the area, and stuff. And that's what Matt Brown normally do is recruiting. It's in Texas, in the Houston area. That's what he normally do, and that's why he's been so successful and was able to win in the dynasty in USC, because I mean he recruited well in the Texas area, and right now we just lack of that. We just don't have that. Steve Sarkisian is not a leader. He's not a leader in the locker rooms or anything. It's a reason why these guys are transferring out, and the guys got into it at practice, because the guy is unable to motivate guys, unable to be a leader, and he stalls a lot in second halves. And whoever thought Steve Sarkisian was a pretty good head coach, he's not. He's a coordinator. He's great when he's under somebody, when he's calling the play calls. He's great at that, but he's not good as a head coach. He's not a leader in the locker room, and he doesn't know how to command a locker room. He always seems to lose a locker room when he gets a head coaching gig.
Yeah.
So since you're down there in the bed of Houston, Texas, there's a name that we haven't heard of that's probably rumbling down there. Is it getting the push that it deserves? Is it due to the fact that it's not a household name? Not just, is it someone that they're seriously considering that you're hearing down there? Because I really haven't heard a top person that they thought about bringing in there to change the culture and the magnitude. And as far as the recruiting process now that it's so sporadic due to social media, I haven't seen that magnetic hire that Texas was looking about. Did you hear about someone down there?
I haven't heard anything strange. I haven't heard anything down there right now. I just heard Steve Sarkisian so far right now. But like I said, I think this guy just deserves to be fired. I'm ready to move on already. There's no way you can get beat by Kansas and blown out on your home turf. And we haven't lost to Kansas in a decade. That loss made me sick as I don't know what, because we really never failed to beat Kansas. And we
lose like two recruits after that game.
Yes, they lost two recruits. They lost. Matter of fact, they lost them in the middle of the season. And you had a stud running back. That's one of the best running backs in the country. I forgot that dude. I forgot his name. Bijan Robinson. He's a great running back, man. And you wasted his talent in Texas. And again, this guy, Steve Sarkisian, he shit the bed in a lot of second halves. And it's unfortunate he lost the locker room the way he did, but that's just the way he always does. He always loses the locker room. If he's a head man, he's going to lose the locker room at some point. And that's what he did this year. He lost two wide receivers, and they both were good. They both went on the same page with him. But like I say, I know this because I'm a coach myself. Once you lose the locker room and the motivation of players, it is over with. You begging to get fired. So again, one thing you cannot do is lose the locker room and lose the motivation of the players.
You coach high school?
No, I coach little league. And I coach 10-year-old basketball.
Good God Almighty, bless your heart. Bless your heart, man.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this, I look at it two ways here. I think Texas really missed out. I think Texas should have gave Sonny Dykes a shot. The coach at SMU and now is at TCU, who's taking over for Patterson, who's now the head coach at the TCU. He just went from SMU to TCU. I think they should have gave him a shot at Texas. I think he should have done, because he recruits Texas. I mean, I think he knew how to recruit. I think he's got good pores with the school. That's what the thing about college coaches today is. College coaches today, you can, like Mac Brown's gone back to old school. He went back to North Carolina and went back to touch the all bases with his old high school coaches and say, I'm back in town. This is where I want your boys to go. And now you're seeing that picked up in North Carolina, who's now at they're number 8 in recruiting rankings in the 2022. Texas come in to number 7. Dude, this is, I mean, Florida's not even rushing in the top 50.
No, we're horrible at recruiting. Horrible. Because a lot of teams fell into this bed, guys, of thinking we're going to live off of what we've done in the past. We're going to let our past dictate our future. That shit's not working no more. You have to get out there, get in front of these kids' face, and tell them what can happen if they come to your school or university and play football for you. And Florida has not done that. They've been doing Zoom calls.
Yeah, and if you look at it, this situation too, and I was going through the 2022 recruiting rankings that had 24 by 24/7 Sports. Dude, they even have Duke ranked at number 42 in football for recruiting.
Hell yeah, Duke football program can recruit, bro.
And that's as odd as Duke has been down, and they getting these recruits. But if you look at it too, though, what gets me is Florida's got that school down, and we talked about this before, Dre. They got that school down the street, about 45 minutes down the road. Who Danny Warfel, one of the Florida quarterbacks who started it up, IMG Academy, where all these guys get these recruits to come in. That's going to be top tier recruits. They don't want to play regular high school. They want to play a national schedule. So they come down and they send these school this because it's a private school because they're allowed to do it. They got talent coming in from North Carolina, got talents coming in from California, got talent coming in, and they put them on one football team. And Florida can't go down the street and recruit them.
Isn't that Danny Warfel, Chris Winkie, and there's somebody else there at IMF. But yeah, they've done some great things with Stanford, great things for who else then came out of IMF? Auburn, they got some kids on the map.
Yeah.
But that IMF has been doing some great things. But when the kid is set on something, in a majority, I say 65% of the kids now come out of single parent home, where the kid is basically going to make the decision. Now, if you got both parents on board to make the decision, that's where the Mac Browns come in at, when you got both parents in the home. The Mac Brown can appease that. But if it's just the kid making the decision, Florida's going to lose out sometimes on some of these kids.
Yeah, I mean, I got more faith in my basketball team, the Texas basketball team, because they got more upside. Because guess what? You got a great head coach in Chris Beard. You got a great head coach who coached at Texas Tech, who led them to a national championship. Someone that's and he's from Texas, so you're gonna get a lot of it's a possibility you're gonna get a lot of Texas guys coming there. But also, he got guys that has transferred from Creighton, teams like Minnesota. He got guys like that's transferring to coming to Texas. So the football team, I believe they got to get a guy that's familiar with the Texas area and start recruiting out of Texas, because there's no doubt Matt Brown recruited what was most of his recruiting in Texas, and most of the talent in Texas was very, very good. And so when you see that, I'm seeing the impact that Chris Beard is already making. He's got college coaches. He got college coaches that really was coaching in the NCAA head coaching gigs, coming on his coaching staff, and that's another great influence right there for Chris Beard. And you already getting transferred to come to Texas. And I believe in my basketball program more than I believe in my football program. And it's a goddamn shame. We should at least lost no more than 2 games this year. The way this team was good enough and stayed in games and lost a lot of close games, the way they did, it shows a lot about that head coach and him not getting along with players and him not motivating players and talking to players. It's important. Right. Anytime you play, you a coach, you have to bond a relationship with some type of player and let them know, hey, what I expect for you. What position I'm gonna put you, what position I see you putting you at, it's you got to really go talk to these guys and influencing these guys and let these guys know, why did I choose you? Why are you in this type of situation? And I got big things for him. You got to build some type of confidence in this guy. So again, like Dre said, talking to these players, going in their living rooms or wherever they're transferring, you got to bond a relationship. You gotta talk to these players.
And if you see too, when we talk about Matt Brown and stuff, we don't see college coaches go to the high school coach level anymore like they did, and meet the college coaches that are at each program and stuff like that, and say, hey, I'm in so and so. I'm here. I'm just going to introduce myself. If you want your kids to come to me, this is what blah blah blah. That's what Matt Brown did, and when he made his return back to North Carolina, he went straight to all the high school that he knew that he had pores with in the state of North Carolina, and say, hey, I'm back in here. We can continue the relationship. I'm back in North Carolina, and that's when it happens. He gets most of his embeds up in Charlotte, because that's the big embedded area up in North Carolina for football players, basketball players, anything is Charlotte. And most of those players were going to like Georgia, were going out of states, and now Matt Brown's now come in and he's now secured his place back at North Carolina. So now some of these recruits are not going out of state anymore; they're staying in state. And that's what you got to do when you, like Florida, you got to win your state in recruiting. And
there's another thing.
Go ahead, Joe.
There's 169 former NFL players that are coaching high school sports now.
Yes.
That is going to help in more ways than one, because now you're getting that verbiage from somebody that actually been through the shit.
Right.
That can tell you how to gather yourself accordingly to get ready for college. Then you get to college, you got another guy that's been in that level that can perpetuate you there the right way. So now you got all these right people guiding this young man and getting them right now in 9th grade. You got a former NFL player coaching your kid that has a rapport connection with a college or university, with someone that went to that college. Maybe that high school coach went to that college before he went to the NFL. Now he's going to lead you in the right path and direction on what to do and what not to do in the process of going to college. Now you get to the college, you got that college coach that has that connection with the NFL. So now I think this is going to make the connection even more better and clean up all these bad programs that was happening and dirty eye behind the scenes of college sports. I think this here is going to help clean it up a little bit more with the 169 former NFL players that are now coaching high schools throughout the United States. I think that's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, and if you see all that and stuff like that, it's what is college football is recruiting. Transfer portal now has become the free agency like in NFL. So we got all kinds of different perspective. We did pretty good on the on talking about the NIL and stuff like that, and talking about now we got PlayStation 5 is now confirmed that they're trying to get the first video college football game back out in the market in 2023. So you're gonna have players getting paid from that. So and getting the likeness back. So I'm excited for it because I like playing NCAA football better than I am Madden. Because Madden scores just gets too unrealistic,
Yeah, I'm a gamer myself, man. I miss that college football. I miss it.
So we look at all kinds of stuff. So next week will probably be our last show for 2 weeks. I'll be going to North Carolina on the 20th of December. I won't be back until the 3rd of January. So we'll pick back up after I get back. Be close to the championship game. We'll break down all the championship game and stuff like that, the NCAA, and also let everybody know that this program is not going to go away. We're going to go through the football recruiting period too. We're going to talk about all the different recruitings, and we're going to set the stage for next year for college football on Saturdays. I'm also going to try to break in a new show to deal with the college basketball during the weekdays. So if y'all want to jump on, you can. You ain't got to be there for the whole show.
I'm always down.
So that's going to be coming up in here. We want to keep going with the momentum we got going here with this show. So I've been talking because most of the football shows are probably go away after the football season is over. Not this show. This show is going to take you right through the recruiting, all the changes in coaches situations. We'll get perspective from Florida, perspective from Dre. We're going to get Texas perspective from the coach, get North Carolina perspective. Fans can always dime in on the chat, and we can talk about your school. If we don't talk about it during the program, it's still going to be a 3-hour show, so it's going to be a lot of unique aspects into this. And then I'm going to try to see if we can figure out get some special guests. Since football season will be almost over, we can try to get the students, athletes, and coaches involved. Hopefully, we get some of them in here. So this has been a great show. We got Navy. All three of us picked Navy to win today. One guy says that Army's going to win by 30. I guess he don't actually really watch the games because none of the games have been really blowouts.
30 points.
I mean, the final score might be 35-31. You never know. But yeah, it's gonna be a good game. If you ain't never watched the Army Navy game, watch it. It's a good perspective. It's a football game first, but it's also more meaning to military people out who watches the game and stuff like that. It's the camaraderie of the thing. This is the one weekend that we're not friends, and then after the game we become friends again. So
we're drinking buddies all over again.
Yeah. So this has been a good show. This has been the All Sports, All Plays College Breakdown. This has been Dre, Coach, and Ray. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace up the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.